That's right, folks. The Oscars have come and gone, and March is upon us. And that can only mean one thing for us here at So You Want to Be an Imagineer. It means it's time to turn the page on another movie memoirs. Son of a bitch. That's exactly what I was afraid of, Dragon. It's like, you see, for some reason, I can't mute that. Anyways. Okay, it's gone. It's gone. Do you want me to start over, Dragon? Because I feel like I was in a good groove, but then I just got rudely interrupted by myself. Can I just start over? Can we just, like, get the good karma back again? All right. Yeah. Take two. Take two. Sorry, everybody. Let's do it. That's right, folks. The Oscars have come. God damn it. Take three. The Oscars have come and gone, and March is upon us. And Dragon, that can only mean one thing here in the realm of So You Want to Be an Imagineer. It means it's time to turn the page on another movie memoirs. Specifically, it's time to talk about the movie memoirs of February 2019, aka the Oscar edition.
Yeah.
All right, so Dragon, I'm just going to kind of lay it out here with my thesis this month. I just did not get a chance to see some of the movies I wanted to see, and these are definitely going to be movies that I'll hit on streaming. I really wanted to see Happy Death Day to You. I really wanted to see The Prodigy. You know, I feel like something like Isn't It Romantic? It has a fun premise to it, but I don't necessarily mind that I missed that one. So there were quite a few, and then there were just a few others, like specifically stuff on streaming, like Roma and Velvet Buzzsaw, where it's like I do want to get to it eventually. I do like the filmmakers involved. I like the cast involved in those movies. But the problem is, it's like those movies require a very specific mindset to get into, as you'll discuss later on. So what was your thesis statement for the month, Dragon?
Well, to keep it simply, I think in regards to the things released theatrically, I think. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase it. Let me start off like this. I think the non-theatrical stuff, basically everything that was not released in theaters, I feel was subpar across the board, and everything theatrical I thought was started in a good place and kind of progressively got better and better. So that's how I feel, at least for the movies I saw. I can't speak, and I saw all the stuff I wanted to see. Let me put it to you that way. I mean, the only thing I'm just gonna wait for it. The only thing I'm gonna wait till it comes to like either streaming or on HBO or whatnot is probably the Liam Neeson movie. But everything else I got to see in theaters that I wanted to see. So it was a good month for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So Dragon, the Oscars happened. That was a thing. Do you want to talk about them just briefly?
Do I? Yeah. Sure.
All right. We can also pull in if anyone's watching in the chat, if you have any Oscar related stuff you want us to talk about.
Well, I've got one right off the bat. Donovan Martin once How to Train Your Dragon to get an Oscar, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, I definitely want How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden Role to at least be nominated for Best Animated Feature for sure. So first of all, Dragon, Green Book. Green Book is kind of sweeping the nation in kind of polarizing ways. My grandparents, like my grandma and grandpa that I live with, they went to go see Green Book yesterday, Dragon, and they freaking loved it. Like it crushed it for them, demographically speaking.
That's good to hear.
I don't know, Dragon. I'm kind of in the middle on Green Book. Like, there's definitely some people who think that Green Book is another sort of like I don't know. It's like, without getting too political and controversial, it's just like, there's definitely some misrepresentation in Green Book in terms of historical accuracy. That's all I'll get into. But Dragon, I'm in the middle because it's a good movie. I don't necessarily think it's a great movie. Like, as far as Best Picture winners are concerned, for me, it's like Birdman. It's no. Oh God! Now I'm just gonna have to go. I don't know. Birdman is honestly the best picture winner of this decade.
Well, I really love Shape of Water.
Birdman, Dragon. It's no Birdman.
Oh, that's No Shape of Water, to say the least.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's no Country for Old Men. You know, I wouldn't even dare I say I wouldn't even say I would say it's no Slumdog Millionaire.
Well, I don't know about that. Okay, look. Point being, for me, Green Book, I felt was a satisfactory one. You know, because there are three movies I was pulling for to win Best Picture, and of course, I think Green Book had a legit shot at it, and so I really liked Green Book. I did. Had a good time with it. It's
I
one I
really
can't.
liked it as well. It was like number 13 on my list. You know, I not to disparage it at all. I just I just don't know. I don't think it's quite up to best picture caliber for me personally.
I think it either made it into my top 10 or was like circling around, like it might have been like in my
Uh-huh.
top 15 or something. It was up there. That's all I remember with Green Book because I did have a really good time with it. It was basically, I think, I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been the best biopic I saw of that year. I'm trying to remember of like in terms of where the ranks. I think it was like number 10 because of that, but doesn't matter. Point being, again, I think it's a satisfactory one, but I mean, I would have been over the moon if Black Panther won. I mean, there was a shot. It had a shot at it. You got to admit, it. Black Panther did have a shot.
I
I'm not
was
saying
personally rooting for Black Klansman.
I could have seen that winning, but again, Black Panther would have made me really happy. But again, the one I really been really surprised by. I mean, one I would have been also pleased if it won Vice because I really love Vice, man, and I would have been. There were a few awards I really wish Vice either got or was up for because there's like one snub that really bugged me with Vice. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily a real snub. It's just something I wish it was nominated for. Score. I love the score to Vice, man. The score to Vice is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, I would have nominated for. Basically, I would have loved to see it win for. I could have seen it winning for director. You know, like Adam McKay, I think did a good job. I could have seen him winning director. Nothing against Alfonso Cuarón. I mean, good that he won. He did a good job directing at Roma. But what I really wanted to see Vice win for was edit. It really should win for editing.
Oh, edit was that to me was probably the biggest shock of the night, and I just oh boy, Dragon, let's just open the can of worms. Like Bohemian Rhapsody to me just like maybe because of the Bryan Singer stuff, I'll admit.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Brian. Okay, real quick with the Brian Singer thing. So I was every award it was nominated for. Every time someone came up on stage to get an award for, it was like on the edge of my seat, wondering, are they going to thank the director on this? And nope, not a single one. Not mentioning it, nothing.
But I don't know, man. It made it awkward and like Bohemian Rhapsody to me. I think Bohemian Rhapsody definitely deserved the sound categories it was nominated for, and it deserved those wins. I completely agree with those wins. The movie was fantastic on a sound level. Editing, though, like really, and I agree with you, Dragon, like over Vice, really?
See, let me put it to you this way: I'm not. It's not the worst thing that could have won because when I was watching Bohemian Rhapsody, I still feel this way. I thought it was well edited, but maybe it could have been edited a little better. I thought again, I liked how I loved how we did montage in Bohemian Rhapsody. That's what I like. I like how we kind of fast forward a few years and.
But that's the thing. I thought the film like overly relied on montage.
Which again, that's why I could see it winning for editing. But by the same token, Vice did it so much better. And again, I saw Bohemian Rhapsody way before I saw Vice. And when I saw Vice, I was blown away by the editing in that film. Therefore, Vice would have easily won it for me.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Let's see. I just seen some major stuff here. Of course, in reaction to the Green Book winning, let's just say Spike Lee is not happy. And you know what's so bizarrely ironic? It's that 30 years to the day, Spike Lee lost to a driving movie.
Oh God. Oh no.
That's the bitter irony for Spike. Well, Spike Lee got his day in the sun.
That's exactly why I wanted to see Black Klansman beat Green Book, man. I totally had that meta thing going for me.
But you know what? Spike Lee got his day in the sun. He kind of he bleeped off the timer, which is kind of funny.
Is that really his day in the sun, Dragon?
Like, yeah, he had like a big speech. He
never won a Best Director Oscar. I honestly think that's I don't know. I don't even want to get into it, but
well, look, my point is, I mean, he kind of no one played the music on him. I mean, he just authoritatively said, "Hey, don't you dare play that music," and then listen to him. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay, so documentary. Let's talk about this for a bit here. So, of course, "Won't You Be My Neighbor" was historically and just so ridiculously snubbed. One of the biggest snubs I've ever seen in my life with the Oscars. One of them. I mean, just Won't You Be My Neighbor being snubbed is
And I
ridiculous.
can tell you, Free Solo is a good movie. It's nowhere near Won't You Be My Neighbor. I mean, it's good. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. On a technical level, I can see why it won, and we'll get into that when we talk about it on the monologue, on the not the monologue, the memoir.
Stop saying monologue.
I know, but yeah, Won't You Be My Neighbor is definitely like that to me was like something that I had as like a dark horse best picture nominee, Dragon.
Let me tell you what really pisses me off about snubbing Won't You Be My Neighbor is that they're using Won't You Be My Neighbor in the marketing. They use it all throughout the marketing of the Oscars, like using clips of it and everything. And it's like, how dare you? How dare you? You know, you snub that and you're using it to draw people into the Oscars because you know people love that movie. And it's not nominated for a single thing. I mean, not even score, nada. And again, I'm not saying, like, again, it really should have been for documentary. I could see if that was the only thing it was nominated for. But in Best Picture, you can make an
Documentary, score, editing.
Exactly, editing and document
would have been viable.
Precisely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, they have a few things, and nothing. The only solace I took is here's the thing. They had two things I was watching the documentary section because one I was just progressively, and I haven't seen Free, so we'll talk about it later, of course. But I mean, just based on on broad first impressions, like it was just like disappointing pick after disappointing pick of like all of these over.
I can tell you, Free Solo is probably like I'm 99% sure it's a more engaging movie than RBJ. All right.
Okay, that's the thing. The other solace I took in the whole thing is that, that RBG did not win. The only solace I really took because RBG, folks, I swear to God, you probably won't hear me. Maybe one day I won't make any promises because here's what happens. I would add it to like the list of new movies I have watched, but I can't because every time I try to watch this thing, it bores me to tears. It's the most unappetizing documentary I've seen in a long time. It's just, and I keep, here's the thing, the first minute had me because it's like, okay, Judge, he's got a big following with her. I know nothing about this woman. I would like to know more. Okay, I'm in. And apparently, she's like she kind of takes off the president. I want to see what that's like. The only bit of intrigue. It's like that's what's passing for intrigue at the start of this thing. Okay, let's see where it goes. And then she's like the most. It's like these are the documentaries you sit through in school to tell you. And here's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she was she was working her way through the system and just it's like this is the most unambitious documentary I've seen. I tried watching it on several occasions. I got like 30 minutes into it. I'm just
this man is like passionate about his dislike of this movie, people.
I've tried. I've given it every benefit of the doubt, and I get the thing. I keep hearing that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is really awesome and she's worth the hype in the documentary. They're like, this documentary had like a nominated song. And a nominated song.
Oh, I love Angry Dragon. I love.
And yet it gets nominated over Will You Be My Neighbor? What world are we living in?
Oh God.
Anyway.
All right. Anything else about the Oscars?
Want to address the host thing?
Yes.
So let me overall. I was going to go approach this whole Oscar thing a little bit more linearly, but we kind of buried the lead and just kind of went straight to Green Book. But real quick, I think that this Oscars overall was the most paranoid Oscars ever. Like no one was. It's like the no one's ever happy era of the Oscars we've now reached. Where like no one's ever going to be happy, and like they did okay without a host, but I feel like Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and Maya Rudolph at the start, they kind of mocked the whole no host thing. I got to tell you, those three, they would have made a good they would have made a good team of Oscar hosts. They got to be honest. I think they could have done it.
Dragon, what happened to that damn rumor that the Avengers were going to host it, man? I know. He saved the day.
That would have made me happy. It really would have. But I will say this: they did also. There's a little thing that made me happy though. Chris Evans, he was being awesome. He helped Regina King when she was stumbling to get to the stage. He prevented another Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh God! Oh, we don't need another Jennifer Lawrence.
But still, Chris Evans saving the day. It's like in a sly way, not hogging the spotlight. I mean, where was he when Rami Malek was on the stage? That's the real question. But hey.
Wait, what happened with Rami Malek?
Oh, he fell off the stage. They cut away from it so you didn't see it happen, but he fell off he He fell off the stage.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
They had the
That's the
cinematics.
thing, Dragon. I didn't watch the live show because I was in Disneyland. Right.
So they're talking about they talked about this a lot. I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. You know, Malik falling off the stage, there's pictures of it, like him like being looked at by the medics and everything. He's fine. He's perfectly fine. Just he fell off the stage. It was quite embarrassing.
No, I did not hear about it. Huh.
Yep. That's Oscar editing for you. And of course, Spider-Verse.
That I was probably writing when it happened.
Okay, a few things real quick, just like bullet points here. Spider-Verse won Best Animated Feature.
Yes.
Which is excellent, and of course that movie deserved it. It's great. Again, it comes out this month. I can't wait to rewatch it, boy. I can't wait. And Bao won, which I really liked Bao, so I was happy that Bao won for Best Animated Short. There was another contender, but for life of me, I tried watching the clip so I wouldn't just like be going blind and just by title what the movie was, but unfortunately I couldn't find a clip of it. But again, you'd imagine when you have these clips of the Oscar wins, you'd also show them reading off the names and basically showing the full part of the clip when they don't do that. So it's really hard to find out like what man. I wonder what other Oscar nominated short was kind of selling me. So I got to do some digging into that one. But Bao won, so yay for Bao.
Uh-huh.
And there's one other.
Ollie, I'm glad to see that he's a 2-time Oscar winner now. Dragon, can you believe that?
I'm so happy for him. That guy's
multi-time Oscar winner.
That guy's really talented.
He really is. He really is. That was the Green Book Award I was most happy to see.
Yeah, if Green Book won anything, they had to win for Ali for supporting, man, because he earned that, man. He was so good. Okay, here's two things because one of them is really important. We got to talk about to set things up for later. Okay, so one real quick. One award that kind of bugged me is that how does First Man win the effects Oscar over Infinity War, where we had a Thanos? You know, we had like
First Man is one of the I'm just gonna be blunt. I hate First Man. Like First Man is to me like it's so boring. It's so unengaging. It's like it like kind of pummels you over the face. Like Ryan Gosling does not care. He's apathetic. He has a personality disorder. That movie is just really it's an embarrassment to the director's career, man. It's an embarrassment to Giselle. But anyways, First Man, there's my rant for the evening, Dragon. First Man's effects are the kind of effects where it's like you look at them and you don't even realize that they're visual effects. And I feel like there is a craft behind that. You know what I mean? It's like it's similar to like why Forrest Gump won Best Visual Effects, or let's say the visual effects in The Social Network.
You're basically putting another feather in the cap of the movie before it's before it's about the actual effects themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I would have given it to Infinity War. I certainly like Infinity War as a movie a lot more than I like First Man. But
at the very least, again, Infinity War had great effects. And again, the king of all the effects was how Thanos looked. Again, they sold you on Thanos. It took him 10 years to get there. My God, did he look spectacular?
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I mean, he had peach fuzz, man. You freeze frame those shots. Oh my God, he's got the peach fuzz and everything. He looks sublime.
All right.
All right. Okay. So the other thing we have to talk about the In Memoriam because there were a lot of really jaw-dropping snubs in the In Memoriam this year.
Oh boy. Oh no.
I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of them, Teak. There's more than
tell me Stan Lee was there.
Stan Lee was there. Okay, that's the thing because even though they would have been crucified, they would have been crucified if Stan Lee wasn't there. Okay, but in all seriousness, here are the guys. We're gonna give them their due. Because the Oscars sure didn't. So a guy who I really kind of fell in love with, I believe it was either last year or the year. It had to be last year because that's when I watched both Frasier and Cheers. John Mahoney, he wasn't mentioned. John Mahoney, Frasier's dad on Frasier. So
yeah.
Anyway, so John Mahoney, Gary Kurtz.
It could be because he's more of a TV actor than a movie actor. That's the thing.
Well, still, he's in film, so Oscars. I mean, look. It's not just that. It's the fact they reference all sorts of people who work in different elements in different areas of the movie. It's not just like actors who may have like an extensive TV career, but they've done movies and they've had an indelible mark on cinema. But Let me give you some other ones that are a little bit more jaw dropping. All right, so Gary Kurtz, producer of Stars, one of the definitive Gary Kurtz and Alan Ladd Jr. are the guys who gave
Yeah,
us
I know.
Star
Yeah,
Wars.
I know who he is. Yeah, that's a bit shocking.
Reg E. Cathy. So Reg E. Cathy, he was great actor. Of course, recently he was most. I think the last thing he did was Luke Cage season 2, and of course he's big on House of Cards. But again, it was like the latter TV works that he's done. He's done other things. He's been
Mhm.
in film. I just for life I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I know he's done film before. Arlie Ermy.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That's a snub. That's a snub right
That's
there.
what I'm talking about. Arlie Ermy. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
Arlie Ermy is a fucking icon. I mean,
Arlie Ermy. He was.
definitive drill sergeant in movies.
I mean, a few other small ones before I get to one that really was going to set something up for us a little later on. We have so Carol Channing. She was snubbed, and Vern Troyer. But I mean, those are the ones people have brought up.
Yeah, Vern Troyer, Carol Channing. Yeah, both of those. Like, I mean, look, say what you will about Vern Troyer, but he brought his own brand back in the late '90s and early 2000s.
That's true. And like, what's the point of snubbing?
I mean, he was like proto Dinklage.
What I think the big takeaway from any snub, it's not like the stature of the actor or anything. It's the fact that they in essence they've kind of died for cinema. Like, why not give them their due, even if it's a fleeting little moment? Give them their due at the Oscars. Like, I don't care. Here's the thing: the Oscars will probably give you the rationale they'll probably give you the rationale of they're in the in memoriam of the other awards like the Globes or the other awards like the Critics' Choice Awards. They have an in memoriam there, so therefore they've been brought up there, so we don't have to do them with the big one. But everyone, let's face it, the Oscars are the ones that they're for all the money. It's the
Yeah, the
money shot.
Oscars are going to have the most eyes on them.
Yes, and I mean you stretch the event long anyway. What's a few more names on the in memoriam?
Right,
Are you
right.
charging by the letter? What's wrong? And of course, the one that bugged me most, the one that really is an insult that we're gonna, of course, now you know this, Dick Miller.
I'm sorry, who?
Dick Miller.
Oh, yes, right, right, right.
Given of course, I mentioned Dick Miller last time we talked. So Dick Miller was snubbed, and that really hurt me because Dick Miller, he's had a very extensive career in film. And I mean, like I'm talking like true film. I'm talking about like your big A-list pictures. I'm talking about film in the medium of people see all sorts of movies, folks, and this guy was in all sorts of those movies. You A-list pictures, but a lot of just he's in the DNA of film, and we snubbed him, and that ain't right. We're going to rectify that a little bit later on. We're going to make some wrong things right, to quote Winston Dever from Riddles do. All right, let me read off a few Oscar-related comments before we move on.
Okay.
Martin here. Donovan, he loved Bohemian Rhapsody besides the Bryan Singer stuff, which, fair enough.
I mean, I think Bohemian Rhapsody is like, it's a good movie that's anchored by a great performance. I wouldn't say I love it, but all film is subjective, and certain people in my family definitely do love it. So, more power to you, Donathan.
Yes. Let's see. Also, he asked what about Rami Malek, and of course, just in case we just screw it over a little bit again, Rami Malek won, which we were all hoping for. There's a
I
chance
think he definitely, he was the shoo-in, and I think he definitely deserved it.
He was the shoo-in. However, there was a chance that Christian Bale might have won it, and we would have had a kind of a Darkest Hour situation with kind of a makeup win. Which, to
Where
be fair,
it's like, hey, look at all the makeup they slapped onto his face.
Which it's unfortunate. It's kind of a no-win situation. Where here's the thing: I mean, Christian Bale did do a really good job in that movie, but unfortunately, that's the shorthand for it. It's a Darkest Hour win, where again, there's some work that went into this performance. But by the same token, there's something eye-catching about it. Therefore, we kind of undervalue it. Versus Rami Malek, who again they both did an excellent job. Rami Malek, I think, was the.
I mean, to be fair, Rami Malek, he did have like the giant teeth and everything, but I feel like Rami Malek, like part of the performance is the way that he rocked the teeth. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. I think they both did a good job. I think Malek is easily collectively the shoo-in, but again, there was a chance Bale could have won, given he's winning a lot of them on.
Oh, by the way, Rami Malek is almost officially the next James Bond villain.
I've heard something about that, yeah.
And I really want that to be true, Dragon.
Yeah. Donovan shares the sentiment that he's ticked off as well, that Won't You Be My Neighbor got snubbed. I couldn't agree anymore. He's abdicating Free Solo in IMAX. Wow, is what he writes.
Yeah, I could imagine, Donovan. I can imagine.
Yes, okay, and of course I'm seeing a lot of Thanos love, and of course Spider-Verse 1, which is great. Okay, think we're all good there. Again, there's a thing we could focus on a number of things with the Oscars. I think that covers the wide gamut. I will echo this sentiment though. With the kind of the no host format. Seth MacFarlane once said something really. He was asked about like the whole how do you feel about the Oscar, like the hostless Oscar thing going on here. He had a very astute observation I wanted to share. Is that the Oscars are kind of built into the old variety show format. You know me, Tig. I love the old variety show formats. I don't have anything against that. But by the same token, MacFarlane has a point where it's a high pressure job where it's all on one person. And of course, they have to do like kind of the opening monologue followed by followed by you have to fit into the format. And you're always pressured not to go over time, which every Oscars runs late. So it's a no-win situation there. And his point is that the Oscars in their current state they need to change to kind of make it kind of a better, more economic format. And this is the first Oscars in a long while they kind of tried to do something like that. So again, it's I think MacFarlane has a point there. We have to shake up the Oscars a little bit going forward. I know for one, I don't want to have to replay the songs every time at the Oscars. I hate how we have to keep reminding people about the movies, and we also we interject, we keep building them up, and then we also have to do that, and we have to play like the snippets of the songs that are going to be nominated. Why can't we just play do what the other what happens every time we show the nominations, where a little clip of them plays, and then we have like a little summation of what they are.
Right.
For the award, there, if you do that, you cut at least half an hour out of your time, which would help. That's just me. Okay.
All right. So, Dragon, let's get to the comedy spotlight.
Yes.
Wipeout.
Right.
All right. So, Ray Romano, right here around the corner, Dragon. This was a delightful little comedy special that dropped on Netflix that you and I wanted to spotlight just for a minute.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I could have used more of it, but I mean, basically, it's a very short, simple economic kind of premise. Ray Romano is going back to the comedy club he kind of started his career at least one of the first ones, if not like the very first. Goes to this comedy club, and basically, two comedy clubs, I should say. They're kind of around the corner from each other. And he's really just going back to his roots of stand-up, where, again, I remember this from the beginnings of Everybody Loves Raymond, some kind of background information on it, where it was, Ray Romano got his foot in the door is that he did the old Jingling Keys bit. He did like kind of the family-based comedy about his family, which really kind of took off and led to Everybody Loves Raymond, the show. And that's kind of what he's getting back to here, kind of that comedy that kind of got his big break. But again, kind of the seasoned Ray Romano years later looking back on things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the premise. I like the fact that it was blind shows, that the audiences were seeing a showcase of comedians, and they had no idea on stage, Dragon. That was my favorite element of it.
Yeah, that was really cool.
The humor itself is just kind of typical Romano, like, oh yeah, my wife and, marriage, and I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's fun, it's familiar, it's like comfort food, you know what I mean? It's like a nice bowl of comedy chicken noodle soup.
Sure, I think it got really better during the second act. I mean, they were both good. The second act, I think, had funnier stuff about the family and the kids specifically. Romano's kids and like the twins and the oldest son and like a lot of fun stuff there. And really, here's the mark of a good comedy special. I actually had a really good kind of framework where usually every comedy special has like kind of a thing at the start and at the end where you have the comedian doing something random that correlates to the special, and then we go full circle with it. Like Sarah Silverman's done that. To quote a recent example, Mark Sipka's done that, where Sipka, he's on the phone with his family, and of course by the end he's taking a photo with them, so it's all relative. Mm-hmm. Romano here, they had this really great thing where it paralleled the ending of Everybody Loves Raymond, where they're all having a meal together outside of that pizza place, that restaurant they're at.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was just a very sentimental kind of look back into the roots of Romano, and it was just sort of a nice reminder of like, hey, I might have almost gotten your channel shut down, guys, but, we're friends, right? Oh, God, Dragon, what if somehow this video gets striked for talking about the Ray Romano special?
You must have said something really uncomplimentary. Maybe that's why it happened.
All right.
I know it wasn't me.
Anyways. Okay, so Dragon, now we're going to move into the TV spotlight, and I have a feeling that people are going to want to hear about yours before they hear about mine. So I think we should go in that order, if you don't mind.
All right. Okay. So basically, folks, we kind of picked the series that we've watched recently. Like I guess within the month of February, a TV series that we have watched and or binged within the month. Of course, mine is a recent, very very popular one, The Umbrella Academy on Netflix. Yeah, the Umbrella Academy. Wow, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of buzz about it. A friend of mine was like telling me about it. And I just initially I had no interest. I just said like, and you know what? I don't know if it's going to be for me. And I was just like, I had no idea what the Umbrella Academy even was. And then I found out like, oh, it's based on a comic. I didn't know that. And I kind of found out it was, oh my god, it's a Dark Horse comic. And basically, what I think has happened is now I don't have any official confirmation on this. I'm just saying there's a pattern, and it does relate to what we're going to talk about here today. I think that Netflix, in the wake of all of the unfortunate MCU stuff, the fact that Marvel, basically Disney's unofficially Disney has, kind of forced Netflix to cancel their Marvel shows, and now it's all going back. It's in limbo right now. Eventually, on the path of returning to Disney. Point being, Netflix has lost its MCU shows. And I think what they're doing is I think Netflix, they've entered into a contract with Dark Horse because this is the second thing I've seen that's another Dark Horse property that's been adapted into a Netflix movie and or series. And I think they're trying to replace the Marvel stuff with Dark Horse and maybe some other comic companies. I know Amazon is doing something similar, but this has been in the works. Amazon is trying to compete with the MCU with Marvel Netflix, with Mark Millar, the writer of Kick-Ass and Superior and I think Nemesis, like that guy. The guy who actually created the original Civil War and wrote Civil War and Old Man Logan, that guy. So his works, like that guy creative, like they're adapting his works and also like original programming. That's going to be on Amazon, I guess, in the foreseeable future. Point being, so Dark Horse. So we have Dark Horse, this Dark Horse, this old. I don't know how obscure this is. I don't know how much of a following this series had in comic form, but they've adapted into a live action series. And I got to tell you, it's taken the world by storm. I think it's great. I love this, man. I thought I had a really great experience with this. I basically the best way I could sell it to you, Tiki, is it's kind of it's better X-Men. It's X-Men meets Watchmen. That's what this show is. Well, all right. X-Men meets Watchmen. Basically you have these 7 adopted kids on a disbanded team, and they're uniting after their father's death to save the world. Kind of prevent the apocalypse type stuff. I mean, I love all these characters. They're really good. I mean, the 3 that stick out to me most are there's Luther, there's Diego, and there's Five. Five is absolutely delightful. I think everybody has a soft spot for Luther. Suffice to say, it really needs a season 2, but it's a really great adaptation. I looked into it. They did change some things, but I think these are really, really smart strategic changes. They kind of grounded it a little bit more than the comic, but it's really cool. It's got a lot of good talent on it. The thing that really impressed me most when I was watching through it, Steven Zurich, our Daredevil guy. Steven Zurich, the guy who directed most of the best of the Marvel Netflix episodes, especially all the great Kingpin episodes. Steven Zurich, he directed 2 episodes within this. They complemented each other. It's kind of like a 2-parter unofficially. They were really good. So it like this whole series, it does not waste an episode at all, and I can't recommend it any more highly. It's really good.
All right, sounds like a good time, Dragon. Thanks for the recommendation.
Hello to Louise Brooks, who's joined us.
Louise, hey Louise, nice of you to join us this fine evening.
Yep, Louise, just to recap, we talked about the Oscars, the Ray Romano comedy special, and we're talking about series that we have seen. This in February, in the month that has passed. I've plugged the Umbrella Academy, and now we're going to the Tiki side of things. Tiki, what do you got?
All right, so I have got the show that you recommended to me. Kidding. Now,
yes.
Dragon, do you want to set up the basic premise for it, and then I'll give you my reaction to it?
Okay, premise is simple, folks. It's Jim Carrey playing essentially kind of a very interesting parody of Mr. Rogers, kind of played straight. It's not not a ha-ha parody, but it's Jim Carrey playing this children's Mr. Pickles puppet time. He's playing Jeff Pickles, otherwise known as Jeff Picarello, this Mr. Rogers type kid show host who faced the tragedy. Who's basically he's a guy who's been on for 30 years, and then after those 30 years, he's faced a very deep personal tragedy that he's trying to get over. And he's basically the premise of the show is it's a guy. He doesn't view himself as going through a breakdown. He sees it as a breakthrough, and it's kind of like how you deal with tragedy in kind of in a very very tonally interesting experience.
All right, so yeah, Dragon. I've been kind of in a dry spot with TV since Better Call Saul. Except for Survivor, which I just watch religiously with my grandparents, as you know. But I can safely tell you, Dragon, I binged Kidding season 1 in less than 24 hours. I want to say I had the whole thing watched in about 12 hours, including breaks. This thing's a masterpiece.
Don't I know it? Yeah, because I'm
like, it's a masterpiece of storytelling. We'll definitely get into it in an individual podcast. Heck, we might even recap episodes. I don't want to promise you guys that just now. Because I don't know how much interest there'd be in that. But yeah, Michel Gondry just makes something that has such a specific tone to it, such a distinct look, such a distinct feel. Jim Carrey's performance is absolutely captivating, man. It's like, I would say Jim Carrey's performance is on the level of something like a Daniel Day-Lewis style performance, like Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood or something like that, where it's like, you can't take your eyes off him. Like, he's as emotionally raw and tender and sweet as he is just utterly terrifying and like a ticking time bomb. And it's Dragon, it's a ride, man. It's a true ride. It's a rush. I loved every minute of it. I didn't want it to end. As we talked about, I had a couple issues with the Son storyline. I like the Son as a whole, as a character. I just thought a couple of his storyline things were a little questionable. But I mean, as a whole, man, it's a great show. And I can totally see, I can absolutely understand someone watching the first couple episodes of this show and just wrinkling their nose and being like, this is like way not for me. I would totally get that. I absolutely would get that. But Dragon, my God, you and I fit the demographic for this.
I remember I've been hyping this to you ever since it was coming out week to week, and I kept saying, "Oh my God, this thing's reinventing the book. It's reinventing the wheel. You gotta watch this." And finally you have, and now you see the beauty of this thing.
I see the light, Dragon. I see the light.
Yep, seriously, folks, you got to check this. You got to check Kidding out. I think you'll be really happy with it. If you want to see next level Jim Carrey performance, like maybe not the classical Jim Carrey, like ha performance. You want to see him do something good. I'm talking like kind of Truman Show good. You're gonna want to watch this.
I'm talking like this is like a step beyond the best Jim Carrey dramatic performance.
Yes,
so, beyond something like Eternal Sunshine.
It's the first time Jim Carrey's done a legit kind of leading role done right, because he did it once in his career years ago, and it was like a failed TV show. But that's why he was scared off of TV for so many years. So he's been so hesitant to do TV, and you've seen what he's done now in a leading role. And my God, is it sublime? And that's Kidding for you, folks.
Yeah, just really fascinating stuff. I mean, the puppetry, the visual style, the motifs. Just the way that the script kind of wraps around itself and the themes, and it's so rich.
Suffice it to say, narrative masterpiece that we're going to be breaking down at some point in some form, but hopefully sooner rather than later. But we'll be crossing that bridge. Okay. Okay. So let's get to
yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
All right, so let's get to all that said. Let's get to the current stuff that came out in February.
All right, Dragon, we will start with the two movies that you and I both saw, which were the Lego Movie 2 and then How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. So,
Yep.
Lego Movie 2, Dragon, this is an interesting one. I mean, I truly think that it doesn't have the same spark as the original movie. It's not as much of a game changer. But honestly, Dragon, honestly, in terms of writing, like in terms of characterization, plot, atmosphere, songs especially. I love the soundtrack in this movie. I think this one up the Lego movie in a lot of ways. It might not be a game changer like the original Lego movie was, but as far as just a quality story goes with good characters, I mean, this one is really on point. And I think it's a shame that it's kind of lost to pop culture now. It
Lego
just, I just maybe it had bad timing. Maybe it just, I don't know. What do you think, Dragon?
Lego Movie 2 is an interesting case because I think it's a solid continuation. I really do. It's not as good as the first one, but it's definitely an improvement in the greater franchise. Because of course they kind of suffer a blow with Lego Ninjago, and I think this is first and foremost this is a great improvement over that. But as just the follow up to the Lego Movie, I feel it has the main thing it's combating is genie out of the bottle. It's the genie out of the bottle syndrome, where the effect of that I think is that it hurts the story. Where again, we know the big third act payoff of the first movie is, and they're working from that as kind of their starting place for the sequel. And I'm not saying that kills the movie. I'm just saying it's like it's a different ball game altogether, and I think that's kind of a disadvantage for them, where they kind of lean into foreshadowing a lot of stuff really on the nose and really apparently. So if you know what's going on, if you remember the last movie, you know exactly where it's going, and it kind of takes the fun out of it a little bit. But that said, movie as a whole, there's a lot of fun to be had. I think Chris Pratt's great. Chris Pratt has some great performance stuff for this movie, especially with the second character that he plays.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Again, basically, I guess it's like this. I think, as I was saying in my thesis, I feel this month with the stuff that came out theatrically that I saw, which would start with Lego Movie 2, we start from a good place and then we progressively get better for like kind of the main stuff that I saw, which again, so I think we started good with this, and I think the other stuff I think is far better than this. Like this is good, but it's like the moral for this is good, but a little obvious. That's kind of where I'm at on the whole thing. Where the movie's a little obvious, but it's good. It's good. It's fun. There's a lot of neat gags here. But I've heard a lot of people are just it's not really a lot of people were deep into the Lego movie. Not really thrilled with this, and I don't think that's necessarily right. But everyone's going to have a different read on it. It's good, not great. That's kind of the best way I would sum up Lego Movie 2. Didn't disappoint me. Just again, I think there's only so much they can do with it. My concern would be where they do if they do a Lego Movie 3, where they're going to go with it. That's kind of my fear because I really think they're kind of out of story ideas. But I'm not saying they're out of it. I'm just saying I fear they would be in danger of being out of story ideas if they do like a Lego Movie 3 after something like this, like a direct continuation again. So it's I don't know.
Yeah, I do think I'm higher on it than you are. I don't think I don't know. I like the I think that the more and more into the real world you get with these movies, the more interesting they become for me. And I know you disagree with that. I know we've had our moments of quandary with that. But I don't know. To me, I really like the integration of that in the sequel. And I think the sequel is just straight up misunderstood. I don't know. But then again, it's like I'm also someone who loved Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Ralph Breaks the Internet is kind of widely maligned as well. So I don't know what to tell you, Dragon. Maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age.
Well, then eventually you turn on the sequels that you kind of praise initially, so we'll see what happens.
Well, man, Incredibles 2, I never really praised all that much.
You did when it came out. You had a lot. You liked that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, you turn on sequels. So it's a little pattern. 3 movies in a row. You've kind of done that. Okay. So.
No comment.
All right. Anyway, so let me read some comments. Well, let me just use the comments as a segue here because Diamond Martin's at the biting at the heel here, talking about how Train Your Dragons: The Hidden World. oh, this is cool. You got a tooth. I didn't know they Funko. They've done a toothless pop. It's a 10-inch toothless Funko Pop that's come out. You ordered one of those. That's cool. And he's also singing some Lego lyrics here. This song's gonna get stuck inside your head. This song's gonna get stuck
I
inside
love
your
that
head.
song, Dragon. That song, especially in context with the movie.
Yeah, it is quite fun.
That's the thing with the Lego movie too. I love the fact that it's a musical. I don't know, maybe like I wasn't going in expecting it to be a musical. I knew very little about it going in. So when the characters were straight up like fourth wall breaking, like, oh yep, it's a musical. We're gonna have to sing throughout the whole movie. I'm like, yes, yes, this is great. I
All
don't
right,
know. Yeah, and I'm much more of a musical guy than you are, so
all right. Yeah, Don Martin has a point here. Yeah, it is making fun of itself, which is again that's really clever too. They are just kind of like that. That's the thing. Lego Movie 2 does have a lot of really. The point is, Lego Movie 2 is as clever as I wanted it to be. That's I gotta give major points for. It's super clever in a lot of places. And of course, there's a certain cameo that I think is hysterical. That I think they gave away in the marketing, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it just by chance. It's a really funny cameo in the movie as well. All right. So anyway, How to Train Your Dragons, The Hidden World. So let's talk about it. Again.
yes, yes. I mean, this is just a straight up epic movie, man. It's an epic franchise, and it's DreamWorks' masterpiece as a whole with the three movies combined. I mean, it might not be as sentimental and like hugely nostalgic and game changing as the Toy Story saga, but I quality.
Yeah, again, I've gone on record saying, like, I think it's an excellent ending to a trilogy. It's got stellar animation. It's definitely DreamWorks' best franchise, hands down. It's easily How to Train Your Dragons, the strongest. It's an iron, it's strongest steel franchise. It's nothing's touching How to Train Your Dragons in terms of like story, content, animation, the voice performances. It's tremendous. I love revisiting this world because again I've told you I've been in the bag for Head Train Dragon. I've watched all the seasons, watched the series. It's I got to tell you again I love how consistent the thing is through and through ever since the first movie. And it's never really kind of let me down, and all the way to the end we come back with kind of a definitive ending to the world that we're revisiting. It's always kind of a treat to revisit, especially in kind of its full splendor on the big screen. And I mean, this movie again met my expectations with the villain, who again I was very impressed with. It kind of did everything I wanted him to do generally with a villain. It kind of delivered on that, and then everything else was just of the same quality in a good way. Or just it kind of continued the development we had in the second movie, and then we're kind of we're getting it. We're delivering on it with the promise of an ending where it's like, okay, this feels like a definitive ending. It doesn't feel like they're going to keep you on the hook for anything else, but at the same time, it just feels really satisfactory and just feels really without saying what is in case anyone hasn't seen it. It's a perfect ending. And again, on the whole, I think I've described it like this too. It's kind of a this franchise feels like the Avatar: Last Airbender animated show meets something like either kind of Return of the Jedi or kind of the Lord of the Rings ending. It's kind of one of those things. It kind of feels like a kind of a good ending that may not be like the best one in the series, but it feels like kind of the right note to end things on. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's definitely got some high points to it. Like I love the opening sequence, the basically the raid breakout sequence. That was awesome. I love the all the stuff with the Light Fury, specifically the cloud sequence, which literally made me cry in the theater.
yeah.
So yeah, just good stuff throughout the movie. Good characterization. I would wager to say that this movie, out of the three of them, has the best division of screen time throughout all the cast.
Yeah, everybody gets a moment. Everyone has something to do. They have a moment in the sun or a running gag or some
Mhm.
form. So yeah, it is reflecting everyone really well. I'm getting a lot of neat stuff in comments here. Getting a lot of love for John Powell's score, and yes, the movie does have a good
Oh
score.
my
John
God,
Powell.
John Powell. Yes, I mean the franchise would not be what it is without John Powell. Just plain and simple.
Yep. Been listening to the flying theme for a few days now, says Donovan Martin. I can't blame him. Of course, he's a lot of love with the Kristen Wiig, and her kind of landmark scene in the movie, which is hysterical. It's definitely the funniest scene in the movie
Yeah, it's
for
the
sure.
comedic high point of the whole film for sure.
Yeah, Rough Nut. Oh god, Rough Nut. She kills in that scene. But let's see. So yeah, the splendor of it all, with the cloud scene, and of course for me, I love the entrance to the hidden world, and animation wise, it has me my jaw dropping even before we really go into the hidden world, which in itself is really cool looking. But just the entrance, man, the entrance, water, man, water.
Right, right.
Yep. Okay. So again, the other thing too is that with the whole we have the light fury thing. That was the only thing that could have potentially tanked the movie, and it did not. It would serve the story. Again, that was the thing. The marketing that kind of had us scared. Like, oh no, they're trying to tell two stories. They're trying to tell an ending. And they're trying to tell a love story. Oh no. And they only have one movie left. Which story will prevail? But thank goodness they kind of found a way to kind of make them all work and not have it just be like, oh, they're doing one of these stories, and then oh, there's also an ending. But no, it all works together, folks.
Yeah, the love story was actually like a dramatic high point of the film, much in the same way that the father-son stuff was a dramatic high point in the first two movies.
Yeah.
Kind of like that jealousy that that Hiccup kind of, doesn't want to form, but sort of forms against his own will with the Light Fury. Really, really compelling, hard-hitting stuff that anyone can relate to.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Dragon. So now we're going to switch off on stuff that we saw in theaters this month. What did you think of Alita, Battle Angel?
Okay, so I'm sorry?
I just said, just to clarify, I have not seen this, but you have.
Yes. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be switching off between a movie that I've seen, then a movie that movie I've seen to a movie that he's seen that, again, the other one has not seen. That's how this is going to work for the currents, the stuff that came out in February. Okay, so Alita, my God, Alita, it sure lived up to its potential, and I loved it. It's like I remember the trailer for Alita was very impressive. I remember they had like a lot of really neat stuff. This trailer was everywhere months earlier, and I remember you and I were talking about when we were covering Watching You, because one of the stars of Watching You actually has an appearance.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not the assassin with the blades, by the way. That's a mistake. That's someone else. Basically, she's as a smaller role of Screwhead. That's who. God, I'm trying to remember. I got her. Trying to remember her name. Elle Lamont. Elle Lamont, who played Denise in Watching You, the Taylor's girlfriend, if anyone remembers. She plays this character, and basically there's like a bar of assassins and kind of bounty hunters, essentially, and she plays one of them named Screwhead, and that's the one. Anyway, sorry, getting back to the whole thing as a whole. So this movie lived up to the potential.
I'm surprised you're glowing so much about it, Dragon, because I've heard pretty mixed things about this one. I've heard that it's got a really good aesthetic to it, but the story's a little all over the place.
All right, so let me tell you this. Okay, so what I really mean is that it lived up to its potential. Where again, this thing you see, you think, okay, it's gonna be a visual kind of action movie, and I went into it just kind of expecting that, but there was more there. It had the story content that the trailer looked like it might be give you some of if it's done right. But again, like I went into this movie wondering, oh boy, I mean, I'm hearing about the 60% Rotten Tomatoes. I wonder if it's gonna be good. Like I just didn't let it deter me. I just went into it all the same, and I was because I really wanted to see this movie because it's Robert Rodriguez doing this movie. There's some James Cameron ties, but specifically the Rodriguez of it all had me, had me enticed, and I like the marketing on it. And Christoph Waltz, it's got an excellent cast. Christoph Waltz, you have Rose. You have some surprises in there with Rose Salazar. Rose Salazar is an actress who I didn't go to a movie specifically for her, but I remembered her. I came out of the movie because she just becomes this. There's obviously some CG enhancement on her with the eyes and everything, but Rose Salazar, I've seen her in a few things, and I just she's okay. And then this movie, oh my God, she's tremendous, and you're gonna fall in love with this girl in this movie, Tiki, if you see it. She's wonderful. She really is. And again, so I went in this movie for for that trailer essentially, and there was substance to it. I was afraid it was going to be like all over the place and everything, but the world building is great with the cyberpunk, setting and everything. It's kind of a dystopian future that's kind of maybe not dystopian, but it's sort of like like an event has happened. This is like years in the future. Therefore, it's like there's kind of there's like a hierarchy in society, so it's kind of like that. It's not dour. It's just kind of like a little. There's like kind of a technological hierarchy, I guess. Like there are cyborgs that kind of walking around like just it's an average Tuesday, and it's got cool stuff like that. The effects are tremendous, and again, that world building is great because the idea is like there was a war that happened 300 years ago, and this is like kind of the world 300 years after that. But yeah, I mean Christoph Waltz, he's he plays a great character. I mean, of course, I mean this is based on a manga, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's based on this manga. I think the actual name is called like Gum, like Gunm, I think. Or yeah, Gunm, like Gum. That's what the actual thing's called. And they took some liberties with it. But from what I understand, I've heard from people who've actually read the books and everything that it's really on the money. And they kind of made what they did is they compressed. They basically compressed a few stories together, but it's pretty like they blended a few characters together to kind of simplify the story. It sounds like they made really smart choices, and so it's a faithful adaptation from what I hear on that front. I admire. There's a lot of stuff to admire about this movie. It's let me tell you what really that pushed me to go out and see this movie. Let me tell you this. All right, there was a clip. I was seeing a movie. I think it was for I guess it was either How to Train Your Dragon or it was the Lego Movie. I was seeing the movie. They had like a little like kind of a clip. They're really I guess the AMC theaters were really pushing the Alita Battle Angel trailer. And they showed a small clip from the movie. And this clip was the push I needed to like, okay, I got to try to see this thing because this is a great setup for a scene. It's basically there's a sport in the movie that's on all the trailer. Basically, it's on a lot of the posters. I guess not the poster we have here, but on most of the posters. It's the sport called motorball. Motorball is essentially you have these cyborgs who are kind of like athletes. Who basically you're trying to they shoot a ball onto a NASCAR track, and you're on skates, and basically you're risking your life to go get this ball and kind of toss it in the net and avoid being kind of taken out by the other players. That's the sport. And basically, Alita, and the clip is like this. So Alita, and again, just going to the movie based on this alone is like, okay, Christoph Waltz is lacing her up and telling her, okay, listen, this body you have now, I'm not going to be able to fix this. So you got to be really sure you want to do. So be careful while you're out there. He's the father figure to her. And I love the bond that they have. Christoph Waltz and this girl, they have tremendous chemistry, and they have a really heartfelt story I can't get enough of. And he's telling her, like, be careful, this body could break. And then, of course, we have the great thing you need, like a little cell clip where it's basically Mahershala Ali's character, who's the bad guy in the movie. Mahershala Ali, he's saying, tell them to kill the girl named Alita, essentially, and basically kind of orchestrating. So all the players in the game, every other big giant cyborg that she's competing against, all these big bruisers, they've all been instructed to take her out. And Christoph Waltz puts this together, and he tells, he basically gets on her comm system and tells her, Alita, you have to get out of there. They're trying to get you. Who? Everyone. And then she just has this great line where she says to him, hey guys, I'm new. Take it easy on me, would you? Then the bell rings, and then they go off, and that's all I needed. Like, oh my god, I gotta see how this scene goes.
Nice.
I'm sold on that, but my point is, again, the long and short. I could talk about Alita all the little one day, but I'll give you the long and short. Is that this movie? It's again, it's about just it's a girl star. It's like Tiki. Let me put this: this is the single best amnesia plot you're ever going to see. Where it's not about her like it's not about obvious setups of okay, when is she gonna remember, but it's more so she's a blank slate who's kind of refinding herself and kind of finding her new place in the world. And again, she kind of has this father figure. She kind of makes some friends. Again, it's really you're seeing the world through the eyes. You're seeing this new, really great kind of cyberpunky world through the eyes of this girl who happens to be a robot, who's just kind of finding her place in all this. While again, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. Again, the action is great because it fits into the old robot rules, Tiggy. And the robot rules are this: along the lines of a censors board. They can do it. There's a lot of violence in this movie, but it's completely okay because the movie's PG-13, but they can get away with a lot because you can do any horrific thing you want to a robot. That's the way the censors go. So there's a lot of gratuitous robot violence, but it's basically Rodriguez doing Gendy Tartakovsky.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, Robert Rodriguez doing gratuitous violence. That sounds right up his alley.
But I tell you, Rodriguez and James. Here's the thing: James Cameron wanted to direct this, but
but he's too busy with Avatar 8.
See, way back when he was getting ready, I guess while he was doing the first Avatar, he had plans to do with these other movies. So he was working on Alita, but then he was wrapped up in all the Avatar sequels. Therefore, he hasn't gotten all these projects. Like you have this, and you have the new Terminator movie coming out. He was going to work on those, but he's had to delegate and give it to somebody else. However, he wrote this. And again, I think his writing and Rodriguez's directing. This is basically. Tiki, let me give you the very obvious sell how to really sell this. This is the good version of Spy Kids 3D. That motorball, specifically the motorball stuff. All the motorball stuff feels like a scene from Spy Kids 3, but Rodriguez not holding back for the kids.
I mean, Dragon, I'm just not a fan of the Spy Kids saga in general, so that's not really a huge selling point.
Well, what I mean is, like, again, like okay, I guess when you say the saga as a whole, but let me put it to you this way: it's like Rodriguez, you've seen him kind of like glimpse some neat stuff in the Spy Kids movies, but then you have him just kind of like he's been holding back all these years, and he's kind of unleashed with this movie, and he's having a lot of fun with it. And he's just
literally my favorite part of the Spy Kids movies is the fact that the Machete movies technically take place in the same cinematic universe.
All right. Well, and also in regards to, here's what I think people are soured on it with. I feel I admire the risk they took. They took a risk with the ending that you don't see every day. They took a risk that feels that I respect it because it's the ending that the story needed. And I'm sure, like, you have people, the more critical eye, they're going to look at it, they're going to say, they're going to find a few holes in it, I'm sure, but these are like more like nitpicks that may become holes. That's the kind of thing. There's really nothing legitimately wrong with the movie. I'm not going to say it's for everyone. Like, I'm sure some people just might not be crazy about it, but again, if you're in the bag for it, I think it's really good. It's a lot of fun. The visuals respect the content of story. That's the best way I could put it. Like, there's not like a wasted opportunity in the movie, at least in my assessment of it. I had a great time with it. It's a great sci-fi movie, and it might be I can't say it's better than How to Train Your Dragon, but I will say I think it's. Here's the thing: it's How to Train Your Dragon. Obviously, the bases are low, and of course, that one it is. That one. The How to Train Your Dragon is the best, but it's also an ending. Like as an original movie, just kind of coming out. Alita.
That makes sense for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're different movies. Like Alita is kind of the start of a story that again could have more stories. Where again it's great and it sells you. And again it has like a story that reflects the visuals. But How to Train Your Dragon as well. It's like that's like a perfect ending. So it's it's kind of hard to compare.
All right.
A few things from Donovan here, real quick. The rollerball scene with the stakes with Alita alone is just a lot of clapping emojis. So yeah. Alita won Donovan's heart, and he says, "Don't you compare Spy Kids to Alita? How dare you?" Look, I'm comparing it to
yeah, Dragon.
I'm saying it's better than Spy Kids. I'm saying that it has a few things in common with a sequence from Spy Kids 3, and you get to see Rodriguez cutting loose without being held back by the Spy Kids trappings. Is what I'm saying. So it's Rodriguez unleashed, and it's awesome. So. See, Donovan, okay, it's supposed to be set up for a... Well, basically, he's saying it's... there's definitely room to do more of these movies is what I'm getting at, Tiki, and that's kind of what Donovan's alluding to here. But again, it's uncertain if they're going to get more of those movies. So I say, again, point is I highly recommend this to you, especially you, Tiki. I'd recommend this. So.
All right, yeah, I'll check it out. I'll see if it's still in theaters in my area. I wasn't planning on seeing it, but... and maybe I'll give it a shot. Dragon, here's the thing. It's like I have PTSD from Valerian, man.
Trust me, it's no Valerian.
Valerian burned me. Valerian looked so cool, and it looked cool.
Yeah, I think the worst case scenario with you is that it's just going to be a good action movie. But I mean, again, the best case scenario is I think you're going to be really dialed into the world because I know you like world building, and I think you're going to.
I do like world building.
Again, I don't know. I think this is going to grab you. I don't know. I think it is, but worst case scenario, you're just going to see some really cool robot action. What's the harm in that?
Yeah, I'll try to give it a shot if it's still in theaters.
All right.
Okay. So the next one so Dragon, oh boy, before I even saw the Lego Movie 2 in theaters, my grandma did not want to go see the Lego Movie 2. She wanted to go see What Men Want.
Donovan, sick him, okay? I just make a loose comparison to Spy 3. He saw What Men Want over Lego Movie 2. Go get him.
All right, What Men Want is a pretty decent 90-minute romantic comedy that just happens to be 2 hours long. And what I mean by that is, like, when it's not just completely dragging its heels with the pace, it's somewhat enjoyable, especially the gimmick, especially the mind reading gimmick. There's the psychic character who gives Taraji P. Henson her mind reading powers is literally just this crazy stoner psychic chick named Sister Dragon. Her name is literally Sister. I don't know. There's a few laughs in the movie. I did enjoy Taraji P. Henson's gay assistant and how he was the only one who was sort of like fighting back against the mind reading. Like whenever she would enter a room with him, he'd be like, la 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 la, tomato, like happy thoughts. You can't get me for thinking dirty thoughts about you because I'm not, and I'm outsmarting you with my thoughts. Like basically he was kind of pulling like a Riddler telepathy thing on her. And I thought that was funny. I mean, other than that, Dragon, the movie is like, let's face it, it's exactly what you expect. I mean, the Black Panther kid is kind of adorable outside of that terrible, terrible gag. I do think that the kid in general is kind of, a nice sort of heart of the movie, if you will. But the relationship between Taraji P. Henson and the freaking bartender guy is just, it's not very well conceived at all. It's really not a great it's not a great romantic subplot. This movie is just, it's got a pretty okay hook that calls for some good laughs, but it outstays its welcome. And then even by the end, like, she loses her powers with like a half hour left in the movie. And then when the movie becomes painful, because that's when we're just kind of taking off like all the plot lines. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we have to resolve this, and we have to resolve this, and we have to resolve this. And it's just like, oh God, when is this thing gonna end? So overall, I would not recommend What Men Want. I mean, it's like if it's on Netflix and you just want sort of a movie to chuckle at and not think about and sort of turn your brain off sort of deal, yeah, go for it. Why not if you're in the mood for it? I mean, it's definitely going to be like, I'm not saying it's going to be in my like top 5 worst of the year or anything, but it's probably the worst movie that I've seen so far in 2019. I'm not going to beat around the bush with that. I'd say it's a step below Glass.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's just my first thought when I saw the trailer for that was didn't we say all we had to say with the Mel Gibson version of that movie? With what women want, didn't we just say all we really needed to with this premise? Doesn't this just feel like a waste of Taraji P. Henson just in premise alone, doesn't it?
Okay, I will say that Taraji P. Henson is damn good in the movie, man. She is trying, all right?
That's what I'm saying. It's like a waste of her talents.
What?
That's what I'm saying. It's a waste of her talents.
I know it's a waste of her talents, but I'm saying the movie is not entirely unworthwhile because at least we get a good Taraji P. Henson performance.
All
right. Okay, so Dragon, you happened to see. You did the thing that I could not do because I was not in a mental space for it. You watched Roma, my friend.
Yeah, so getting ready for the Oscars, I kept meaning to watch Roma before the Oscars, and I eventually did because it was basically, I guess it was like this. I guess it was the Saturday, it was the day before the Oscars. Like, well, I put it off as long as I can. I guess we got to watch Roma. Let's see what happens. I watched it, and so yeah, and of course, Tiki did not have the fortitude to watch it. So okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm done just kind of dancing around it here. I'll tell you. Thoughts on Roma? It's overrated, folks. I hate to break it to you. Roma, it's way overrated. It should not have been
Really?
nominated. In my opinion, and again, it's just my opinion. I don't think it should have been nominated for Best Picture. I really don't.
Wow.
All right, I think it's that's that problematic. Look, I'll put it to you this way. All right, here's the thing: it deserved cinematography and foreign film, which it won. It deserved those two, no question. And again, I watching that movie, it's like, okay, this is definitely. I'm not really a foreign film guy, but again, I can see why this won foreign film. But especially cinematography, it's very well shot, beautifully shot. And again, I can also get behind Alfonso Cuarón winning. Again, I would have gone with Adam McKay, but Cuarón, he did a good job directing this. I'll give him. Well, even that. My point is, like, in composing the shot, it's a very wonderfully composed film. It's in black and white. It looks great. The gist of the movie is this, Tiki. To put it simply, it's basically it's a maid's life in 1970s Mexico. That's what the story is. She's the maid. She's kind of the live-in maid slash nanny to a family that I guess the father's a doctor. The father, I believe, is a surgeon or a doctor or something. Therefore, they can afford a maid, some nice cars, but again, they're kind of living in 1970s Mexico. So there's this running gag where they have kind of this kind of garage walk-up area between that and the house. It's like imagine an alley between buildings, and in that alley is like where you're supposed to park the car. It's this really narrow space, so it's just this ridiculous running gag within the movie. It's like the only levity you're really going to get in the movie. I got to be honest, but. Here's the thing. Here's my problem with it. Here's why this movie really turned me off. It's very slow. I mean, very slow. This movie's like, I believe, 2.5 hours. It's either 2 hours, 20 minutes, or 2.5 hours. It's very slow. It goes from this. Here's how the movie ranges. It starts off very slow. I'm talking snail-like slow. It starts off slow, and then progressively gets more sad and dark. Progressively more sad and dark.
So yeah, Dragon, that's what I'm saying, and that's the only thing I've heard about this movie. And so, I mean, you can understand that. I was never in a mindset where I was like, okay, let's start with something that's really slow and methodical, and then build in like kind of like a depressing atmosphere to it. And don't get me wrong, Dragon, Kubrick himself has done slow and methodical transitioning into depressing and and almost kind of malicious in a way. But this isn't Kubrick.
Let me put it to you this way, Tiki. There's no right mindset for this movie because again, no emotional state is gonna get you ready for what this movie has to offer.
Oh God!
It's basically, let me put it to you this way again. So it goes from slow to progressively sad and dark, and to the point where honestly it's a little offensively so in places.
Really?
It gets that dark, and basically they're doing things. And look, I'm not one to shy away from a dark movie or like for a sad movie. I'm not saying you can't do one of those things, but again, the Kubrick example, you can do that, and you can make it work. But you really have to know what you're doing, and you have to make every moment count. Because again, visually, you got some cool stuff. But I'm not. My eyes aren't really glued to the visuals as they were with something like Shape of Water. Like Shape of Water, you could distill every frame of that movie. You could find something neat in it. You could. If you really wanted to. This, it's not the case. I know it's not the same thing, but just for point of comparison. But looking at it this way, so the movie progressively gets, they do a lot of things for shock, and I'm sure what they would say would be realism, and I can't argue with that. Yeah, they're going for kind of shocking realism in 1970s Mexico, which, I mean, sure, I'm not saying that it may be accurate, but I'm asking myself, why? Why are they going this dark? Like, what is the purpose for telling this story? And I shouldn't have that question in this movie.
Yeah, I hear you, Dragon. And to me, that's also sort of a question that I have to ask myself with certain, historical epics and stuff like that, where it's like I understand that it's an important story, and I understand that it's being told well, but by the same token, Dragon, I'm one of those guys where it's like I view film as an escapism, and 9 times out of 10, my favorite film of the year is going to be an escapist film. Something like a Coco or a Moonrise Kingdom or a Inside Out. You know what I mean?
Right, and also just in the comments here, Donovan's asking, like, was there a nude scene in the movie? And yeah, there is, but When I say offensively bad, what I mean is like there's some really dark kind of like they're like not necessarily like like initial like I'm offended that there's nudity. That's not the problem. The problem is that they get really it gets really dark and just shock value type stuff. Like, oh man, you can't believe what just happened. This maid gets put to the ring. This maid has a terrible personal life, and you feel your heart goes out to her. And that's the thing. Like, again, all this may be accurate because again, there's like some riots. Essentially, there's some riots going on. There's like kind of a big hoopla going down, which kind of leads to a really dark scene that kind of leads to the most tragic scene in the movie that just keeps going on and on.
Oh,
Like,
I've heard about that scene. Yeah, yeah.
That's mainly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about kind of the offensive. Like that scene really kind of like I look at me. I'm rarely what I get offended watching something. Rarely, and I gotta tell you, this was like I like me. I could watch all of Schindler's List, but that scene bothered me.
Really, really. Wow, worse than Schindler's List.
No, again, I'm not saying that. Again, the Schindler's List stuff. Again, that complemented that. That was the look. I know it's a really unfair comparison, especially all this Spielberg versus Roma stuff going on in the news these days.
Oh God, right.
Just for point of comparison, I mean, it's I mean, Spielberg, you made the better, kind of complex, dark, black and white movie compared to this. He did. I mean, that movie that complemented. That's again more. If you could freeze every shot, you could find something in that. And you again, they have like, hey, it's Oscar Schindler at the start of things.
It's Oscar Schindler.
You have those moments, then you have the darkness that again is historically accurate, yes, but again, it's darkness that again is coming from somewhere that builds to it. That again, you feel it's justified, and you know where it's going, and that's the thing. Where this darkness is like the darkness comes out of nowhere, and then it gets worse just for tragedy's sake. It's not really. It's not something that's it's not for the sake of accuracy. It's just for the sake of let's just make this really dark and let's bring this character to low places. It just feels like man, you're hitting the audience over with a hammer of sadness, man.
Interesting.
But, okay, now all that said, now that's all the stuff I have a problem with. There's one thing, just in my opinion, like, I don't. It just might be me. I don't know if everyone would have this opinion if they watch Raw. I'm sure some people. Again, a movie got like 90% or so on Rotten Tomatoes. Some people like this movie, and again, it got nominated for Best Picture, so there must be a number of people who like this movie.
I honestly was convinced it was going to win Best Picture, Dragon.
Again, I would have been after watching. I would have been gobsmacked if it went like, oh, there is no the Academy's out of their minds.
Oh God.
But let me tell you, so again, all the shade I'm casting on this, there is one thing I do have to highlight, though. There is one truly great scene in the movie. I mean, a great scene.
Okay.
The ending climax, and not like the last scene of the movie, but like the second to last scene of the movie, like the big climax. You'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, the big poster-worthy scene of the movie. The one that's on like a lot of the posters and like the thing when you go on Netflix when
them
it
on
pops
the
it
beach.
Up. Yeah, them on the beach. That scene.
Yeah. Okay.
In my look, what I'd recommend to you is just watch that scene. Just add a context for all the stuff. Know that something dark happens, which they reference in that scene. Just like basically, you don't even have to watch the dark scene from earlier. I keep ranting about, but watch that scene when they go to the beach. That's what you want to watch. That's the movie. My point is like that's when they had my interest in the movie, but it took them to the very end to get it.
Oh wow.
But again, that scene, that's the one that's worth the price of admission. Like maybe not justifying watching it for those first
Dragon, I'll tell you, I'm curious enough to at least like read a Wikipedia summary of this movie. I am not curious enough to actually watch it at this point.
But if you watch it, Tiki, just watch that scene, man. That's a great scene.
All right, fair enough.
That's the scene. That's worth all the cinematography. That's worth like the foreign film. That's a wonderful scene. That's a great like fist pumpingly good scene.
Okay, I believe you.
All right, so the point is, scene on the beach is great with Roma. Everything else, not too crazy about it. So, Tiki, I think we've lost visual on the thing. You might want to, I don't know.
What? Really?
Yeah, we've lost visual.
I can see it just fine, but I'll refresh it. Okay.
I know it's weird. Okay. Let's see. So I guess what we're covering next, to toss it back over to you, would be you saw a little fighting movie. I saw Alita, which is my fighting movie. You saw something a little different.
Huh. Yeah, sorry, Dragon. I'm trying to I don't know. We might have to go without visual.
Nut bunnies. All right. Well, I guess just
let me try. Let me try it one more time.
All right. Just say read some of Donovan's stuff here in the meantime.
Okay.
If I try to watch Roma, I will fall asleep. And it has like a Z's emoji, and yeah, again, I could see that. It's a long movie. And Donovan also echoes your sentiment about escapism. Loves escapism.
Right. Yeah, this is weird. For some reason, the browser that I am displaying the image in is not even showing up on the screen share. So I'm sorry, Dragon. I'll try to get it up by the end of the show so it'll at least be the thumbnail, but for the time being, I think we should just kind of go freeform.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so I saw Fighting with My Family, Dragon.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this movie?
Well, I've seen the trailer for it, so I think I get the overall premise. It's based on a true story, isn't it?
Yes.
Based on a true story, I have this kind of a family. Where are they located? Are they?
They're located in like some dingy town outside of London.
Right. I think I've seen this place in another movie. A far less. Even compared to what I think of this movie, just in trailer alone, I think there's a far worse movie that I think has the same location. But point being, you have these kids.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Point is, you have these kids who aspire to be wrestlers, kind of like of The Rock and the predecessors before The Rock. He's kind of looking forward to be kind of the next kind of big wrestlers, and they kind of grew up wanting to break into the profession. And is their father played by Nick Frost?
Yes.
Awesome. That's what I thought. Okay, so Nick Frost plays their father, and they kind of get to the auditions, the tryouts. Vince Vaughn is the I guess the guy who's running the tryouts.
Yes.
And I believe in premise,
Headley is also the mother.
Well, I believe the girl gets in, the brother does not, and doesn't she go to bat for them both to be in there, or is it just like she's in there and then
she does, but it's not as major of a part of the movie as the trailer would make you expect.
Well, the point is that's all I know about it. I know The Rock has a number of one-liners. That's pretty much all I got about the movie.
All right. So here's the dealio, Dragon. Here's the dealio. I'm going to throw your words back in your face to reemphasize my point, all right?
Okay.
So you remember what you said about Alita, where it's like How to Train Your Dragon 3 is probably technically the better movie, but that's the end of a franchise, and that's like the end of a trilogy, and I feel like there's sort of an asterisk there because of that. That's how I feel with Fighting with My Family in relation to How to Train Your Dragon 3. And so, therefore, Dragon, Fighting with My Family is my favorite movie of 2019 thus far.
So what you're saying is it's kind of your Alita equivalent.
It is, but I mean, it's obviously a very different movie from Alita.
Well, sure. I'm just saying that, again, the equivalent of like, it's kind of like, well, where you haven't seen Alita, it's Fighting with My Family, and vice versa.
Yeah. Dragon, like, here's the deal, Dragon. I am sure that I am as uninterested in wrestling as you are, but I mean, this movie is just absolutely delightful, and the cast is just off the charts. I mean, we have two relatively unknown leads playing the brother and sister, and they're both fantastic. I mean, they go through just such a range of emotions and personality shifts, and it's not just a classic rise and fall story. It's more a rise and rise and rise story, but the fall comes from the brother. The brother's the one who's struggling. The brother's the one who, it's a story of like, what does the brother do now that his dream is over, and he has to kind of reshift his life when this whole WWE thing was his life. And Dragon, that's what the trailer doesn't really spotlight. The trailer makes it seem like the whole movie's just going to be like, oh, the brother should get into the WWE. But really, the movie is about moving on from the WWE, at least in terms of the brother's character. Whereas with the Paige character, she is just delightful. And there's just so many great performances in this movie. Dragon, I will definitely say, without a doubt, this is Nick Frost's best performance I've ever seen him give.
Really?
Without a doubt. Like, it's not even close. I mean, like, Nick Frost is just an absolute delight in this movie. Arguably, this is Vince Vaughn's best performance ever. Like, Vince Vaughn in this movie just kills it, man. He just absolutely kills it. I love him in this movie. Vince Vaughn just plays this like kind of like, you know, shady sort of recruiter guy who's also like kind of subs in as like a half personal trainer for the wrestlers. Dragon, he's got this gimmick where he's got this the horn, like this kind of blowhorn, you know, like clown would use. And that's like the tap out. You know, if you blow the horn, you're done and you go home, right? And so throughout the movie, he's like just getting in people's faces, like, you're done. You want to blow the horn? You want to blow the horn? He's like waving this horn around. It's great. It's great. Lena Headey as the mother is maybe the standout performance of the whole movie. She is just so warm, so motherly, so but also just awesome and kick-ass. She kind of has a Morticia Addams vibe to her. Of course, with the whole family being wrestlers, that gives the movie just a distinct charm to it. I honestly think that the movie has some really good cinematography, some very well choreographed wrestling sequences. It's just all around a fun movie, Dragon. It's a throwback to like classic Disney sports movies.
I see.
It feels like.
Huh.
And I would highly recommend it. Like, even if you're not into wrestling at all, I would highly recommend it. If only for the cast and the fact that I know you're a man who likes a good biopic.
I do like a good biopic.
This is a great biopic.
Good to know. Let me ask you this. There's one thing I gotta know.
Okay.
Dave Bautista, is he in it?
No, unfortunately, no. Not from what I could see.
I was looking for like a cameo or something by Bautista, but you know.
But The Rock was good. The Rock did not overstay his welcome. I'll give him that. He was in a couple key scenes that would have happened in real life. But overall, he wasn't like just popping up like, hey guys, look, it's me for the 5th time.
Let me ask you this. Is there a period setting?
Yeah, the early 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s, like right when The Rock was trying to get his movie career off the ground.
So The Rock is playing himself from that era.
The Rock is playing a younger version of himself. The Rock is playing the kind of the guy who's more comfortable in his skin as a wrestler than he is an actor.
Right.
But damn it, he's trying as an actor.
All right.
So yeah, Dragon, Fighting with My Family, I'd honestly give it a 9 out of 10. I really would. It's that good of a movie. I do think it's I don't think it's got much potential to be in my top 10 by the end of the year. I do think it's got potential to be in the top 20. I really do. I think that this is going to be a hanger on.
All right. A few comments here. Donovan Martin also loved this movie. I'm getting a lot of praise
nice to
for
hear
it.
it, Donovan. Nice to hear it.
Donovan apparently is a huge wrestling fan as well as DreamWorks fan. He says Fighting with My Family was so good. I was gonna sell that a little bit there, but there's a lot of
if you're a wrestling fan, I could see this movie just absolutely psyching you out. I really could.
Seems
like,
very simple.
Fan. Nothing against wrestling. It's just I have a lot of different interests and hobbies, and wrestling just does not have time to take up any mental space for me. But you know, even as a total non-wrestling fan, Dragon, I love this movie. So I can't imagine what a wrestling fan who knows Paige's story would think about this movie.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of simpatico feelings to you there, where he says, the actress who played Paige was so good. Loved Vince as well. Loved Vince Vaughn as well. Nick Frost.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn was fantastic. He was really fantastic.
A lot of happy-go-lucky emojis. I'm getting says Nick Frost was the bomb, like Affleck and Phantoms. Yeah. And let's see, when the sister and brother met The Rock part. So again, the scene where I guess they initially meet The Rock.
Okay, here's the thing. That part is like somewhat spoiled in the trailer, but there's a running gag in it that's not spoiled in the trailer. That's just hilarious. Right. I feel it here, but it's an added dimension to the scene that The Rock gives in his performance. That's just great. It's like a beat that happens every time.
The Sound of Things, Louis Brooks
really well-timed, like Just Giggle It style comedy.
And The Sounds of Things, Louis Brooks is sold in this film, so I think you did some good, Tiki. I think you did.
Yeah, man, I'm really down with this movie. I mean, I was expecting to like it. I wasn't expecting to like it more than How to Train Your Dragon or the Lego Movie. I really wasn't. So yeah.
Okay, that brings us to a little movie on Netflix.
Yes.
It would be Velvet Buzzsaw.
Dragon, this is one where I want to see it eventually, but I haven't heard great things about it. And I love the Dan Gilroy, Jake Gyllenhaal team up, and I don't want to have that soiled for myself.
Yeah,
You know
half
what
the reason I watched this was because you recommended it to me. I want you to know that.
I didn't. Okay, to be fair, I didn't recommend it on the basis of like, hey, I saw it and it's definitely good. I recommended it more like, hey, it's up. You should watch it.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right. Let me correct that. So what I mean is, Tiki told me basically told me the fact that Gilroy and Jake Gyllenhaal had reteamed on this one, which sold me. He basically sold me on checking it out. So let me just set the record straight on that. Sure. So Vela Buzzsaw, let me tell you, Vela Buzzsaw is an interesting one. So again, reteams are guys from Nightcrawler, which Gilroy, I believe this is like his third or fourth movie as a whole, because he did, I believe Nightcrawler was his first. Then he did Roman J. Esquire, and then God, so this is either the third movie or again, there's one I'm not thinking of. The point is that you see they've reteamed on this one since Nightcrawler. This movie, to put it simply, is not what I expected at all. Yeah, this one was a heady one. It's not a Serenity level. We're going to talk about that one a little bit later on too. They had a Serenity experience with one of these later on, but yeah, Vela Buzzsaw. Basically, Gilroy is this is Gilroy's foray
It does
into
not sound like a movie that I'd enjoy, Dragon. That's the thing.
what?
Just judging by the premise and everything I've heard about it.
Well, here's the thing. So I went into this completely blind, just based on the recommendation. Basically, when you go on Netflix and you scroll past, and they have like the big banner film, and they kind of show like Jake Gyllenhaal looking all fancy and art critic. He's just kind of looking into the frame. That's pretty much all I had visually going with this movie. And then then of course, just the fact they re-teamed together, and I'm going to this movie. And apparently, what the movie is, which I did not know, is that this is Gilroy's foray into a supernatural horror.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, it's pretty much just. I was thinking
I had
something.
no idea because I just assumed it was going to be just kind of like Jake Gyllenhaal playing like a sociopathic, stuffy art critic guy.
Yeah, me too. That's what I went into it thinking. So, okay, here's the deal. Okay, so it has a great cast. It's got Gyllenhaal, it's got Rene Russo, who's also in Nightcrawler, so it kind
Of
of reunites
course.
them, which is great. Natalie Dreyer, Nancy Wheeler from Stranger Things, she's in it. She has a nice little role.
Oh, okay. Nice, nice.
So it has a good cast, and no one's slacking off in the acting department. But here's the problem. So again, initially you would think, okay, we're looking into the art world, where it starts off that way, but then something happens. Here's the problem. Basically, the movie's not. Here's the thing: the movie's not necessarily bad, but it really drags in the first act, and like first act and a half almost. And I think that really hurts the movie. The other thing, it's not a bad movie; it just really drags in that first act, and it's basically it kind of hurts what the premise of what the movie's actual premise is. So the movie has great production design. Like you go to an art museum, it has like the idea is like it's like a futuristic world we're living in. So it's kind of like art where art's going in like the foreseeable, let's say 5, maybe 10 years. So let's say 5 years. This is where the art world's going. It's got great designs. When you go into the galleries, like there's some really next level art, and it's vaguely futuristic. It's cool looking stuff. And Jake Gyllenhaal plays an art critic. And the whole movie examines the art world, and the problem is it just gets a little lost in setting that up. So like the first act is like, okay, I get what the movie's premise is, but then we're selling a movie that, okay, we're looking into the art world, we're doing that stuff, which is basically the premise you and I thought it was going to be. And then it gets into this whole other movie where it's like, okay, now we're into the supernatural horror element of all, which if this was supposed to be what this movie was about, I wish they got to it in Act One instead of like beginning or middle of Act Two.
Well, at least with Serenity, they basically get to the twisty stuff, like I guess middle of Act Two as well. So,
in essence, what it is, without spoiling everything, the essence of it is, it feels almost Twilight Zone-esque. I think that's the only thing I can really say that I guess that maybe sell you on it is that there's something off with these paintings that kind of come into the gallery, and basically there's some really horrific stuff happening because of these paintings and like the ownership of said paintings. So some really again, that's the thing. As a horror movie, as a supernatural horror movie, I'm not like that stuff's good. I just wish they got to it faster, and I think that overall really hurts the movie because if you're just kind of checking out this movie, you're going to think, oh man, what's the movie about? I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for something to happen. Then it happens, but again, you're just kind of a little bored at that point. It kind of hurts it.
Interesting.
The thing, as a horror movie, it's not. It's really.
I'm of two minds about it because what you just described, the whole, the horror movie with the paintings and everything, that sounds good, but I'm not interested in sitting through like an hour of like stuffy sociopathic art critic Jake Gyllenhaal to get to that.
I know that's the frustrating thing about it, because again, the movie, it's a really good supernatural horror film, but again, that's the thing. So I think you'd like it for that level, but again, you kind of have to. My point, I wouldn't go back to this, but I mean, if I maybe fast forwarded through it, I might. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like Gilroy again. He shows talent for directing that stuff, especially against the horror element of it all. But yeah, it's iffy. My point being, Velvet Buzzsaw is iffy. Where it's no Nightcrawlers, by no means a Nightcrawler, but it's. I want to see more done by Gilroy. I wouldn't mind seeing teamed up with Gyllenhaal again. I just wish the story was a little bit better put together. Like again, Nightcrawler has an ironclad story. Nightcrawler is very straightforward, and Gyllenhaal carries that movie. It's a great piece. This, not so much.
All right. So, Dragon, I got a chance to see Free Solo on the big screen, not IMAX 3D, I wish. But, at least it was in a theater, and I could have seen it on Amazon for $5, but I decided to do the upgrade and go out to the movies, have a night out for $12, just get my money's worth.
I will give it this.
Yeah.
We'll give it this. It's one thing of free. The only thing of Free Solo I can actually comment on is that, out of all the seemingly subpar documentaries nominated, it was the most exciting out of the ones nominated to me. So,
I mean, fair enough. Dragon, it's like this one. It is at its heart just kind of like a rock climbing documentary. It's not really trying to be anything more than that. It's not trying to say anything.
It's no Man on a Wire, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Man on Wire actually is a really good comparison to this because it is all about kind of just like the the minutia of details that goes into the planning of a ridiculous feat. That Man on Wire is actually a perfect example. I will say that the movie tries to have a heart with the girlfriend character and sort of like, examining it through that eyes, like how a relationship affects the free soloing lifestyle. And honestly, Dragon, that part of the movie to me is just okay. Like it's the part of the movie that's trying to tug at the heartstrings the most, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't walk away being like, really swept up in this romance or anything. I do walk away from this movie being like, yeah, man, that guy, like, he set his mind out to accomplish a near impossible thing, and man, he did it, and he kicks ass for doing it. Dragon, I will say this movie very much, correct me if I'm wrong, because if this movie did not get nominated for Best Cinematography, it really should have.
I can't recall. It may have, but for the life of me, I can't recall, because I know Roma was nominated for cinematography.
I mean, I'm not saying it should have won over Roma, because I know how good Alfonso Cuarón shoots his movies. But the cinematography in this movie is just so bold. And one of the cool things about the movie, probably my favorite thing about the movie actually, is the way that they weave the director into it, who's, again, one of this guy's close personal friends. And the director is literally, like, every time they go out and shoot footage for this documentary, the main character is risking his life. And so the director, I think, almost becomes the most sympathetic character in the whole thing because, while the main character, I'm sorry, I straight up forgot his name, which kind of goes to show how memorable he is as a character. He's not the most memorable part of the movie, really. But the main character, is just kind of like, he's almost like a Chris McCandless Into the Wild type, like, he just sort of doesn't really care about the people around him that much. It's to him, it's like he's got such a one-track mind about the free soloing. And to the people around him, it really is. So I guess that's where the movie does kind of shine, Dragon, is exploring kind of like the addictive and dangerous side of free soloing. But then at the heart of the day, it is also a very much a kind of like a training and a, attempting the goal and succeeding in it type of story. And, it's nothing too deep, but it's very well shot. Like, I will say, in terms of actual filmmaking, it does a lot more than Won't You Be My Neighbor. Just in terms of like the actual images that they were able to capture on screen. Like, Won't You Be My Neighbor, clearly the better edited, like has way more things to say, better movie overall. But Free Solo, at the very least, I feel like the images that are put on screen of this guy just scaling these massive rocks without a rope, it's harrowing shit, man. It's definitely breathtaking. Like, it's not the most compelling personal story ever, but the footage is breathtaking, and I can see why it won just for that alone.
So you'd recommend it?
I would recommend it, yes, and I would recommend if you could see it in theaters, do it.
Let me see. We had some thoughts on Free Solo, which Donovan Martin also has seen. So a few things. Also, just kind of trailing back a little bit because we missed some stuff. I'm actually looking forward to Netflix's The Irishman by Scorsese, which I'm also looking forward to that. I can't wait for my grandfather to see that too, because he's a huge Scorsese fan. Loves I don't know if you know about this, T. So there's this movie called The Irishman.
I know about The Irishman, yeah.
Oh, good. Because it's gonna reunite these guys after so many years. So that one I'm looking forward to seeing that turns out. They kind of an annoying teaser, which is like a shell casings revealing the names is a really lazy teaser, in my opinion. But I've been looking forward to this thing. It's like, really? You couldn't just show one bit of footage, really? Anyway, I was also looking forward to The Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele, which I would also like to check that out.
For The Twilight Zone. I am so down for that.
I'm looking forward. I would like to check that out, but I'm having a feeling I won't be able to.
I mean, you could. I have a feeling you might be able to do it like via Daily Motion or something.
Well, again, we'll see what's available. But I mean, if that's the case,
yeah.
I'll give it a look see. But we'll see what happens. All right. You need. Okay, here's the
Dragon. The thing about the Twilight Zone is that it's releasing on April 1st, and I know Jordan Peele's gonna pull something, man.
Of course,
they wouldn't release Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone on April 1st if they didn't have something planned.
And of course, of all properties, The Twilight Zone and April Fool's just a marriage picture, if you will. Oh, God, it's gonna be great.
Oh man.
Okay, so let's see. Donovan Martin here, he says, "You need to let go of feelings to climb rocks. Dark side, rock climber." Let's see. I couldn't agree more that with the point you made on cinematography on IMAX 70mm H-story screen. Looks great.
Yeah, I imagine it does. I just saw it on a regular kind of average size movie theater multiplex screen, and
from what he said earlier, I get the impression he saw it in IMAX, and I think he's just comparing the experience. So he highly recommends seeing it in IMAX as well. So.
I wish I could. I don't have the money to go out to San Francisco and pay $30 for an IMAX ticket. I wish I could, though.
Sure. By the way, let me ask you this: so the free solo is just like a term for the rock climbing that he's doing, right? That's why
solo is literally what they call rock climbing without a rope. Is free soloing.
Oh. Imagine this thing. Imagine if they just reuse that title, because you see Free Solo. Part of me wonders, like, is there a Star Wars documentary here about the director's cut of the Lord Miller cut of the Han Solo movie? Free Solo, Free Solo, Free Solo.
Dragon, if that was what this movie was about, then I'd be like totally happy with it winning over Won't You Be My Neighbor.
Yep. If only. Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Okay. All right. Oh, boy. Buckle up for this next one.
From one botched reboot to another.
Kim Possible.
Dragon, I'm literally just gonna mute my microphone and let you have the floor on this, man. I want you to monologue this shit.
All right, so okay, so folks, Kim Possible. Kim Possible. Sorry, oh boy, this is gonna be fun. All right, so for those who may not be aware, Kim Possible, the beloved animated show from our youths, been has found its way into live action. You know, the Disney Channel, they've done an original movie on Kim Possible. Not like the successful versions they've done of it before in 2D, but they've done it in live action. Now, look, I gave this movie every single opportunity. I allotted every opportunity. I'm a diehard fan of Kim Possible. I was there since practically the beginning. I mean, I was a huge fan of this show. All of it that was, it's great. The show that was so good, it was canceled. Here's the thing, can't remember if it ended or it was canceled. The point is, it went away. It had a good enough ending. They basically did the So the Drama movie, which essentially was the ending. Therefore, they never had to do anything else. Oh, and Tiki the visuals back. We're all good. And let's see. I'm sorry, Tiki. False alarm. Just keep working at it. I'm sorry. Oh no, we're good. We're good. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry. Getting back to the Kim Possible thing. All right. So, folks, Kim Possible. It was the show so good it was brought back from seemingly an ending to going back for a whole nother full season. It had another spectacular ending, so came back for a fourth season. And again, the show had two really good endings. And again, it had like the perfect swan song. We don't need any more Kim Possible. We're all stocked up here. We're all good. And then we get this live action movie being made, and being the big fan of Kim Possible I am, and finding out like all the facts that the creators of the show were involved in the making of this movie. They wrote it, they're producing it, they're involved. They had a pretty decent cast, not a great cast, but a decent cast. And it seemed like in the marketing for all this, again, when they announced this, I was saying, okay, they're making an admirable attempt here. They're going to try to bring Kim Possible live action. Kind of the heart of what it's getting at is we're going to bring Kim Possible to the next generation. So maybe people who, again, don't know about the Kim Possible series, and like certain things from Kim Possible are a little bit dated. Not a lot of things, but a few things like they've done trendy things that now, of course, cell phones are a lot more different than they had back then. Now we have the smartphones and everything didn't have that in Kim Possible. You're making a few updates by all means. However, admirable attempt that this thing could be made. Tiki and I know this for a fact. You couldn't make Kim Possible in live action. It's not easy. It's not advised, but you can do it. But put it simply, I feel this movie. I gave it a shot, and let me show you how obscure this movie was, folks. So I was looking forward to watching this movie. I was dreading watching this movie because, again, every attempt I saw of this, every trailer that they put out for this, so they showed a little clip. The clip is where I went through the roof on. They showed a clip of Kim Possible. She's gonna miss the bus. She's gonna miss the bus to school, and again, classically Kim Possible. What she's gonna do? She's gonna do some flips. She's gonna get on the bus. Swan song. That's all. Case closed. That's what she's going to do. It's like Kim Possible Spectacular. She's going to do some flips. She's going to get on the bus, nick of time, no sweat. She's running down a very long, this ridiculously long angle of a lens. She's running down the street to the bus, and she's not going to make it because a woman has turned her back, and her baby's falling down this steep hill. So she uses her grappling gun, her hair-dry grappling gun, which I love, by the way. She uses it to save the baby, and then uses it again to swing on a tree into the bus, and it's the most TV budgeted thing you've ever seen. Like, oh my god! So that was not a good note for me. It's like, oh god, I'm so wary of this movie. And again, I keep wanting it to succeed. And again, it's so simple, but they're making a lot of mistakes. And the overall, to start the onslaught is that this movie, I feel, fell victim to a lot of TV movie. Especially TV movie adaptations, when you're adapting an animated show in the live action, fell into all the trappings, if not all, then most. And it was painful in places, folks. This movie, it's not as bad as I feared it was going to be, but it hurt in places. It really did. And I just keep wondering, again, they had the stars aligned on this. They had the creators involved. They had all this stuff going on. Again, they had a cast that was workable. I just kept asking myself throughout the movie, what were they thinking? And what I was getting at earlier is that, again, I was going to tune into this thing, but again, it kind of surpassed me. It's like, oh my god, it's the day after the Kim Possible thing premiered. I got to go back and got to check it out because it was that much of a faint blip on the Disney Channel radar. Because I don't think anyone cared about this, and that's a shame. Like, they promoted this thing because there's a fan base, and I don't think anyone cared. And from what I can tell, everyone reflected that. It got like the lowest. I looked this up somewhere. I can't remember verbatim if it's this, but I think it got like either the lowest ratings, the lowest scores of any Disney Channel original movie, or at least any recent Disney Channel original movie was that poorly received. It's like you have a blueprint for success. So like, okay, everything's in line here, yet death. I mean, I'm just going to list off a few of them here, folks. Dr. Draken, he's not blue. They did a lazy man's version of the Kilgrave thing from Jessica Jones. You know, Kilgrave, we give him some purple veins, and there's a story reason for it here. Just purple veins because we can't, but there's blue veins because we can't make them blue. You know, makeup doesn't exist, I guess. We can't just like paint a man blue. There's a whole blue man group. We can't do that on TV. You know, they made one of the biggest mistake they made in the story. Like the Draken thing's just like a fan thing of like, why isn't he blue? Because he's in the costume. But come on, why just not make the man?
Well, Dragon, to be fair, it's like we have this whole half the internet lost its shit over Will Smith being blue. So
yeah, but literally, like, his whole thing is that he's blue. Like the genie's like, it's like, okay, naturally this character looks blue, and if they're gonna do a human thing, that's different. But that like, you have to do CG with the genie. It's like the Zoe Saldana thing. You have to paint her green. That's the thing. It's so simple. Like this character is green, this character is blue. Therefore, they are blue, and they don't have to do all this CG for it.
Yeah.
So here's the biggest mistake the movie made. They introduced a new character. They made the age-old mistake of, like all the Ben 10 movies, they do this where they introduce either a new villain or a new character that is not in the show at all, and we have to do it because we have to do something different for the story in live action. So we introduced this character, Athena, who I remember in all the posters and all the marketing, it's like, you get Kim Possible, Ron Stoppable, and this third character, I have no idea who it is.
That's awful. That's really bad.
I was racking my brains thinking, is that
reminds me of like the direct-to-video Disney movies where it'd be like, okay, we have the classic characters you know and love, and this random Dalmatian that we're going to develop now, or the random bluegrass band that Todd and Copper got involved in.
I mean, I kept thinking, like, okay, is it like Monique or is it Ron Stubble? I'm thinking of all the female characters that actually could be from the show. Like, there's Monique, there's Ron's flame, Yuriko. Again, like, there's a few ways it could have gone, but I'm not saying they don't need a third character. But that's the prominent thing. So why is there this third character who we're introducing in this movie? And it's like, again, I'm thinking, what were they thinking? It's like you guys worked on this amazing show. You guys are currently doing good work on Big Hero 6. What were you thinking?
Yeah, right.
And so I mean, there's that. So Athena was the biggest story. Athena's the legit story problem of the whole thing because Athena's like a big plot line that is kind of in the fabric of. There's a big plot twist with her. So Athena is important in the story, which is really disappointing. Then we make other like Draken, like we make bigger Draken-like mistakes here with Mr. Barkin. Of course, we don't go for the no-brainer, get Patrick Warburton to play Mr. Barkin, which would have been perfect. We don't do that. That's one thing, but then we have this guy who doesn't look remotely like Mr. Barkin. He's just a big forgive me. He's a big heavy set man who's not Mr. Barkin at all. And not only that, Tiki, I know you haven't seen every episode of Kim Possible. You remember Mr. Barkin though, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's Patrick Warburton doing his thing, and the idea is like the running gag in the show. They do here too, but the running gag is that Mr. Barkin. They didn't want to have the models for all the other teachers, so what they did is just have this one teacher character who always is constantly substituting every other class. That's the running game, Mr. Barkin. So he's the teacher of every class as a substitute, which is hysterical. And what we do here with him is he's a big doughboy, essentially. He's a big doughboy, bald with a mustache, which again, big bald doughboy with a mustache who wears cat sweaters, who's a big cat fan. And that's a running gag, too, that he loves cats. Like, they give a sob story about a cat that gets him out of trouble. Like, what?
Yeah,
where is this coming from?
Remotely like the character.
Yeah, and then they're doing a lot of PC changes for reasons I can't comprehend. Where again, they're trying to usher in the next generation of Kim Possible. Which again, certain changes I can get behind, but these other changes, like I'm scratching my head, like why? Like there's no cheerleading anymore. Kim Possible, big thing of her character, the reason she can do all these awesome leaps and everything. Cheerleader here. No cheerleader. She tries out for the soccer team, which I mean, only her young brothers played in like one episode, like once. It's the only time we've ever really seen soccer in the series. Is like the Middleton sport is it's basketball and football. You know, they're football in the winter, basketball for the majority of the series until like the fourth season where they do football. Where again they change things up in the fourth season when they came back from kind of the ending of the show. So it's just they're making all these basically they're let me put it this way, along with the cheerleading there are other choices that really intimate that they're overselling kind of a girl power element of it all, kind of they're overdoing kind of a PC era. And I'm not trying to get political or anything, I'm just saying like here's what they do, Tiki. The third act, we just have
It's
the
not like
mother.
we're going to be having this conversation in a week with Captain Marvel anyways.
Certainly. And what I'm getting at is, they have a thing where they force. We have Kim Possible's, her nana, her grandmother, and her mother. And here's the thing: like, don't get me wrong, the Christmas episode you and I covered, we saw all the family kind of pitching in, kind of doing some action stuff with Kim Possible. That's not a regular thing, though. And we're just saying, like, they're all action ready. And her mother, who really has no martial arts training at all, she's in the field. Like the third act is they're all like, they're helping Ron and Kim out in a situation, and like kind of basically foiled Draken. It's like, well, okay. You're kind of like they're putting him in mission outfits and everything and saying this is where she gets it from. And like the nana, yeah, it makes sense, but still, why put him? We're forcing it. We're kind of forcing him to be in the movie. Like, why are we doing this? Again, we're making all these. I hope I'm not sounding too much like a purist here, but I'm just saying like these are choices. Like we're going out of our way to make something different that just doesn't fit.
It really, really sounds like a '90s adaptation of anything. You know, Super Mario Brothers movie or a. Oh God, I don't know. What's another good example? Where it's just like adapting something, but not really adapting it.
Yeah, but I hear you with Mario Brothers. Yeah, it's an example.
Yeah.
And well, let me here. So all of those are just kind of like these are like things that really stick out. But let me tell you the biggest. There's a huge character flaw in the whole thing. So the two biggest problems this movie faces is the Athena character, and then you have Kim Possible herself. There's a problem with Kim Possible. Now here's the thing, acting wise, it's okay. It's not again. I think she's an unknown. I'm not sure. I'm applauding the choice of an unknown, but it's like it doesn't matter. The point's like she's okay. She fits the role fine, I guess, and she seems nice in the interviews and everything. So I got nothing against the actress, but here's the problem with the writing on the character. They want to shake things up, and this is a legit problem when you're kind of bringing Kim Possible back, is that you don't want to just adapt a story that you've done before. I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you want to do a new story, you have to come up with something new, obviously. And what they did here, the crux of the story is we're seeing something we never saw in the series, where it's Kim and Ron's first day in Middleton, their first day of high school, which we never saw because they were always in the middle of high school. And the idea is that Kim's having a problem. She's this whole first week of school, she's off her game and she's just really out of character. Like Kim Possible, she can do anything, hence the name. Anything's possible for her possible,
Mm-hmm.
And she's off her game, and she keeps showing up late. She's the perfectionist, and everything's not working out for her. And again, that's a story idea. By the same token, that's one thing for a story. But then we get into this area where Athena then shows her up in everything, and Kim's getting jealous. And Kim Possible's a character who I'm not saying jealousy's never been. She's been jealous, but again, the wonderful thing about Kim Possible as a character, she's a very great, thoughtful character who will call herself on being jealous, and she'll learn something. In this case, not so much. She has a really nice scene with her nana, and she tells her about the problem.
That I do not like that.
Let me tell you. Well, I'm not the first to say this, but let me tell you this. Okay, there's a nice scene where we show this with her and her nana, where she tells her the problem of like, I'm being shown up by Athena, and she's my friend, and of course, Nana basically spells out the moral. So again, we've addressed it. And we can move on in a smart movie. Not this one. Here's what we do. The worst scene in the movie, the scene where there's one scene in this movie where I say, okay, that is not Kim. There's a lot of scenes where I can say it's not Kim Possible. This scene is definitive. Like the one scene, like, okay, this I had to turn away. I was so embarrassed. Like, oh, God. It's the scene where essentially Athena helped out on a mission and basically got Kim flubbed during the mission and got all over the place. So Draken kind of has been kind of monitoring this, and he's basically kind of shaming Kim Possible for she's basically made a meme out of Kim Possible, which is kind of hilarious. But what's happened is Draken's coming back to get revenge. He's trying to kidnap Athena, and basically in the thick of all this, Athena, she's really good with a bow staff. She's really good, the long wooden stick combat. She's really good at that. And Kim knows this. And basically, Kim needs to toss her the bow staff to save the day. It's pretty much like you're in the middle of like a basketball game or a football game, like you pass the ball instead of trying to make the shot yourself. Where Kim, she tries to stop Draken with the bow staff, and she just falls straight on her face instead of just passing it to the person who knows what they're doing. So you can understand where I'm getting why that scene hurts, right?
Oh yeah.
It's just that's the most out of character I've ever seen Kim Possible in my life, Tika. That's not her. That's terrible. So here's the passable. Here's the good stuff, right? So Draken and Shigo, for the most part, Draken, Shigo, and Sean Jambroni, Adam Goldberg from the Goldbergs, who plays Ron Stoppable. Uh, they're the best parts of the movie. They're the best parts of the movie. They could have used better direction, but they all worked. Like Draken, like again, you and I think we would have gone with someone else in the Draken role, but this guy, he looks like Draken, he sounds like Draken. He's just kind of again with better direction. I think he would have sold it more. As the guy who played Roman Sionis from Gotham, that's the one who played Richard Sionis, Roman Sionis' father. That Black Mask from Gotham plays Draken. He sounds like he has like the Harvey Korman quality of John DiMaggio. It's just and Shigo is my favorite part of the whole movie. If I had to pick one, Shigo is like okay, that's a good Shigo right there. She's good. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, it's just they it's a misfire with intent to do more. They set up for a sequel, and it's a terrible setup for a sequel, by the way. They're basically ripping off the ideas of the good movies, by the way, because the reveal with Athena, it's taken from So the Drama, and they have kind of the whole the plot with Draken from A Stitch in Time. It's just like we're just recycling better movies. Why are we doing this? Yeah.
Yeah. Does not sound good at all.
Okay, we have some response in the comments here, by the way, because I'm getting a sense of some Kim Possible fans here. So let me read some of these off here. Donovan echoes the sentiments here of like cheerleading was a major part of Kim's character, but not because she looked hot, but basically this is kind of speaking to the whole like why they probably got rid of the cheerleading thing. Not because she looked hot or anything, but how we saw how she got those moves. Again, we see how she's so good at doing things. How she's
exactly.
She had to grapple to one class.
It empowered cheerleaders, which I liked.
Yeah, and we have this, and there's also this stupid thing he's calling out in the comments too, which I want to mention, is that the biggest plot and the biggest challenge that Kim suffered was a really ridiculous. Basically, it was like a ridiculous logic of the world, Tiki, where Kim and Ron, they kept being late to their classes because somehow, geographically, architecturally, this is impossible, by the way. Every class that they had is on the opposite side of every classroom, of every building. So, like, Kim had to use the grappling gun to get to one class to another, and she was late every single time.
Well, that sounds ridiculous.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's BS.
I don't know how much more I can talk about this movie.
Okay, well, I got to read Louise Brooks here because Louise Brooks is very looking forward to us talking about Kim Possible.
Okay.
Great to hear you guys' thoughts on this Kim Possible movie. I love the original series so much.
Yeah, well, it's more Dragon's thoughts. Like I said, Louise, I can't with this thing. Dragon is a braver man than I.
And she was a bit nervous to watch the new film, and I'm not sure if she got to it or not. Because again, I warned her, like, I don't know if you're a Kim Possible fan. Again, it's not as bad as it could have been, but it hurts a lot.
Right.
Let's see, and also to lose just in case you may have missed it. We kind of talked. I kind of brought up the whole like Kim gets a little jealous in the movie, which is very out of character for her, which is a big sticking point in the movie. We introduce some new characters, the bad stuff all around. Again, this was so embarrassing, says Donovan Martin. Yeah, and again, like the Shigo and Draken stuff, I think Donovan's kind of in agreement. Again, Shigo and Draken, they were at least reminiscent of what they were in the series. I think Shigo a little better than Draken. Again, better direction, I think. Even with Gambroni, that's the thing that frustrates me, too. The kid who plays Adam Goldberg on the Goldbergs, he captures the spirit of Ron Stoppable, but he doesn't get a lot to do. He's just kind of worked in the scenes. He doesn't get enough to do, but I feel he brought the spirit of that character, which is disappointing that we don't really it's not Kim and Ron's movie. It's Kim and Athena's movie with Ron just there as the comic relief.
That sucks.
That's a disservice to that character.
And Ron Weasley'd him.
And okay, here's the thing though: the Rufus stuff was not as bad as we thought it was going to be. By the way, Rufus was okay. Just had unfortunately though they kind of botched the origin. The origin is he bought him in a Smarty Mart, kind of a Walmart parody. They got rid of that. I don't know. It's the point is that he's just randomly in a lab that Ron found him, and we kind of we give Rufus like a backstory and origin stuff. Oh, one other thing, real quick. One of the single smartest choice that they made that again would have behooved them in other things like Mr. Barkin. They did get one person from the show to play their character in the movie. We got Professor Dementor played by Patton Oswalt. So another Goldberg's connect.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And yes, I know Christy Carlson Romano was in the movie, and they had I'll give it this. They have Christy Carlson Romano like a neat little cameo, but could have been better though. Let's be honest. It's just kind of like I didn't know about this, Tiki, but apparently they did a promo where they announced who the new actors were, and it was really insulting. What they had Christy Carlson Romano and Will Friedle dressed as their characters in an audition for this movie.
Oh no!
And basically, they were kind of embarrassing themselves, and then they announced like who the actual players were. Says, oh yeah, it works, and they just kind of walked out there. It was kind of sad. And it's like, oh man, that's. Well, I gotta tell you that Wilford has put on a little weight since I've seen him last, so a little surprising. But
Dragon, anyway. Everything about this project just sounds painful through and through.
Yeah, and of course, like the whole as Don points out, Ron is Kim's love interest, but you don't need for the first movie by any stretch. But by the same token, the point is he's an important character, is what Donovan's stressing here. So it's all the quote Donovan here. I know my brain cells are disappearing at the thought of it. So he agrees with it. But then, Luis Brooks, you have absolutely the right idea here. Definitely giving So the Drama a rewatch.
Yeah, for sure.
You should do that. She's not sure about the new one, and when in doubt, go to So the Drama by all means, or the finale of Kim Possible if you want something like a little bit more. I don't know, maybe a little bit more of the most modern it got. The very ending of it all. And she's quoting one of the great lines from the series. And the greatest meta joke in the whole thing, Tiki, is that there is an episode, and this was going through everybody's mind when this movie was announced. There's an episode of Kim Possible, the good series, where basically Hollywood is trying to make a movie about their lives, so they're casting people in the roles. And it's great. It's a great episode. I recommend it. Basically, watch, for anyone who's curious about a Kim Possible movie, watch that episode where it highlights why it's a bad idea. Versus this, where essentially, and the best line from that episode is what Luis is quoted in here, where it's the Hollywood producer, the producer of the movie says, and the mole rat will be CGI. And that's what the episode's called, by the way. And the mole rat will be CGI. So.
Rat CGI?
Yep, the mole rat is either the mole rat is CGI or the mole rat will be CGI. That's what the episode's called.
All right.
Okay, so we're off of that topic. I mean, folks, we may or may not be doing some stuff with a bit. Let's just say we'll tease up a little bit. We'll cover Kim Possible in a different way a little bit later on to kind of try to make up for this travesty that's occurred on the Disney Channel. We're going to try to see if we can make up for that, but no promises. We'll see. I'm hopeful.
All right. Wow. That was a speech, Dragon. That was a speech, my friend. Okay, so I guess the next one that I saw was Minding the Gap. This won't take too long. This was another nominated movie for Best Documentary. It's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original film, so it's good to see Hulu in the mix. It kind of makes me hopeful that maybe Fire Fraud will be nominated next year. Crossing my fingers for that. But yeah, this is a really effective movie, Dragon. It really is. And the best way I can describe it is it's essentially like a years later, like it's kind of like a more raw and sentimental version of Rocket Power, but in real life. Where it's like you have like, you remember that pitch I made for a Rocket Power reboot where they're all in their like late teens, early 20s, and they're reminiscing about how the young generation is taken over and everything. That's basically this movie, Dragon. And this movie, we see how they all came together as friends. We see how, skateboarding kind of brings them together, keeps them together. It's just a very heartwarming, very simple story. It's there's not really a whole lot to it. There is some excellent camera work following the kids as they skateboard throughout the streets. And, it's pretty harrowing footage because they're sort of like running red lights and weaving in and out of traffic and stuff like that. So it's not a great documentary, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, I certainly wouldn't nominate it for over Won't You Be My Neighbor, but honestly, Dragon, I think out of the documentaries I have seen or at least know about, I would say RBG is definitely the one that I would replace. Like Won't You Be My Neighbor would replace RBG if it were up to me. Not necessarily this or Free Solo.
Hmm.
And also, Dragon, I got in a rewatch of one of my personal favorite documentaries of all time, and I consider this documentary a gateway drug into documentaries that are, like not necessarily something that's your immediate avenue of interest, but just if you like a good documentary with a lot of with a lot of great editing, a good hook to it, a good narration. Dragon, Dogtown and Z-Boys. Dogtown and Z-Boys is a virtually flawless documentary. And this is about the rise of skateboarding on Venice Beach in the 1970s. It's about the kids who were there, who made it all happen, who made the transition from street surfing to skateboarding. The half piping in people's pools during the California droughts, all that good stuff. We get so much great home movie footage in this documentary. We also get interviews from the people involved. Most importantly, Dragon, we get an excellent, just a killer narration by Sean Penn, who of all people, who's just really, really selling you on the the California culture and how influential the whole time period was. I mean, this is a documentary that just makes you excited about being passionate about something. And it doesn't matter what that passion is. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter that I wasn't personally passionate about skateboarding. Seeing these kids and how passionate they were and how much it changed a generation and defined a whole subculture of sports, it's powerful stuff, man. Like it's definitely I understand that that Minding the Gap isn't really your thing, but I would highly recommend Dogtown and Z-Boys. That's one of my favorite documentaries of all time.
Okay.
All right. So Dragon, we're gonna go down a stretch here, right? Where you're gonna have some that, like, I only have one more that I've actually seen this month.
Yeah, it's pretty much. I have let's see, about one, two, three. Yeah, I got three more of stuff from this month, and then we get to the stuff we just kind of caught up on.
Where do you want to do the last one that I saw?
We'll do it. We'll do it in between. Do it after I kick off the stuff we've caught up on, I guess. Or you can start
Okay, fair enough.
however you want to do it. Just do whatever you want to do.
All right.
Okay. Okay, this next one for me would be yes, would be the two killings of Sam Cooke. So this is kind of my Black History pick for February. This is a documentary they put up on Netflix. I presume at the time the Black History Month. They have this new series on Netflix. It's called well, it's not a series, but it's like, I guess it's like a brand. They're called Remastered. I don't know exactly what this is all about, but it seems to be kind of tackling kind of real life, like kind of It seems to be kind of these historical documentaries they're doing called Remastered. I guess it's what they're calling it. Anyway, so under that banner, they've done the two killings of Sam Cooke. So what this is that this is it's about the life of Sam Cooke, and I know Sam Cooke in the sense of his music. I really knew nothing about the guy personally. I just knew Sam Cooke. He's Darling You Send Me. It's kind of the landmark song with him. And of course, he has a number of other songs. I mean, most Marvel connection would be he's referenced in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's like when Peter and Gamora are dancing. They're dancing to Sam Cooke, and Peter's telling her a little bit about Sam Cooke. So it's pretty much the most I ever knew about the guy, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Cooke apparently, and I had no idea about this. I mean, I assumed the man passed away, but apparently Sam Cooke was murdered. Sam Cooke died in a very unique way and at a very young age. So here's what happened. Sam Cooke, the documentary, it's very informative with a point, and I think that's important from some of the other stuff I'm going to kind of breeze through after this. So, it's a documentary with a point. It's the rise of Sam Cooke's career as a young black talent in the music industry. He's kind of rising up the ranks. He's kind of ushering in some changes, and the industry takes notice in both good and bad ways. So there's this really profound idea in the documentary, and basically the whole two killings of it all. The reason it's kind of two killing. Well, it's two killings for a number of reasons. It's two killings for the actual, like the literal, like there's two stories of how he died, hence the two killings. But the primary, I think the looser kind of two killings of it all is the fact that they put forward this theme of when a young black performer, talent, or icon, when a black icon or a black talent dies, very publicly or just kind of dies way before their time, they're carrying on the legacy of the previous icon or talent. And there's another talent who I'm blanking on his name. But there's another singer that kind of passed at a very young age or was killed at a very young age. I believe this one died. I believe this guy died in a car accident. So I believe that was his story. But the point is, like, so now Sam Cooke's kind of carrying on what that guy was all about, as well as like, kind of your Martin Luther King Jr.'s and your Malcolm X's and vice versa. So he's kind of carrying on the legacy of those people. So that's kind of the interesting the high concept idea I think is really kind of moving, kind of nice in the whole thing. And basically, there's a conspiracy angle, hence the two killings of all. There is a conspiracy angle of Sam Cooke. He essentially what happens. I don't want to give away every single thing, but I mean the history. What happens is that Sam Cooke, he was kind of maligned in the press about his death. What happened was he was in a motel with a girl that he was kind of said to have kind of imprisoned a call girl in his room, and he was about to hurt her and violate her, and then of course basically looks like things turned really bad for Sam Cooke, and he was kind of shot by the motel owner and killed in self-defense. Basically killed to save a life, or killed before he was going to get real crazy. Now, the documentary posits the theory that many people subscribe to, and the conspiracy of it all here is that he was making a lot of noise in the music industry. And again, he was trying to change things for black performers, for black talent, and he was kind of at war with his music producer, his music manager, I think. Alan King, I think something King was this guy. This guy, he had mob connections, and that's the idea. Like, was it a mob? Was the mob and via the music industry trying to silence Sam Cooke and kind of like formulate this whole conspiracy? So it's very interesting. It's very poignant to say the least. So it's worth checking out, but maybe not over other things. Like, I'd definitely get to it at some point if I were you. It's interesting. It's a short watch. It's like an hour, maybe. Let's say it's hour 10 minutes, maybe hour 20 minutes. It's a solid watch.
Yeah, sounds decent. Sounds decent.
All right. Okay, next one I'll try to make brief. This one is less impressive than Two Killings of Sam Cooke. It's not bad, just less impressive. It's Studio 54. So Studio 54, it really caught my eye because I heard about this thing floating around, but I checked it out. Studio 54. It was of course, obviously it's based on the actual, the kind of the big nightclub Studio 54, kind of the era and everything. But it was okay. It's about the formation of the nightclub. It's not super memorable. It has a cool story to tell.
It's one of those documentaries that just kind of like, and here's the facts, and that's basically it, and we're not really going to go beyond that.
It's not an RBG, if that's what you're asking. It's not that. It's here's the problem. Okay. The problem is that it's better than RBG, but then again, a lot of things are better than RBG. Bear in mind, I still haven't finished it because it's so.
Most things are better than RBG.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. It has a really cool story to tell, which instantly distinguishes itself from RBG. The problem is this, and it's kind of a problem maybe with us versus the documentary, is that it's not as ambitious as I would have hoped it would be, but we've kind of been spoiled with documentaries lately, so it's kind of hard to tell. It's telling a story, and it's from the perspective. It's like one of those things where we kind of cut to with the people being interviewed about what went on. So it's pretty straightforward, is what I'm getting at. And I looking at this thing of all the topics that they've picked. talking about Studio 54, it could have been a little bit more ambitious with how they told that story. It's linear, and I'm not saying you can't do like a thing. It's linear without can't do linear without spicing it up, but it's just the problem is it's just I don't know how else to put it. It's just not that memorable. It's just like okay, like I wouldn't go back to this thing. It's not that it's bad. It's just like I know it.
Dragon, I really do think it is like you hit the nail on the head. We are kind of like we're spoiled when it comes to documentaries now. Just like I feel like it's the same way with superhero movies. You know what I mean? If we see a superhero movie that's not up to par with the MCU standards, it's not even worth watching at this point.
In some cases, yeah. And MC54, basically, let me put it to you this way: it does have there is a compelling story. I just feel like again kind of the spoiled nature of all. Like, I wish it was kind of jazzed up a little bit. Where it's basically a story about two guys start a club that gets insanely popular, and it's kind of a revolutionary. They have some revolutionary nightclub ideas, like how to kind of spice up kind of what a nightclub looks like and how it operates, and definitely of the times, and definitely the standards of nightclubs today differ from the nightclubs back then. And these two guys get in over their heads, and basically by the end, without spelling it out, in the end, they're rewarded for their next level thinking. So it's a nice story. It's just it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then we get to the most interesting of all the most. Here we go. Here's the Serenity-esque.
The Serenity one? Okay, I'm ready, Dragon. I'm ready.
All right, folks. So buckle up.
And you know me, because this has got to be good to compare to Serenity, because I love me some Serenity.
Well, again, I won't look. Again, I say esque because is it like on the same level of Serenity? Not much is, Tiki. Not much is. But but this one's kind of an action equivalent to a Serenity. It's something that's point is like I would watch this before I'd watch Serenity, as I did, obviously, but it's this is the thing. I mean, it's okay. This movie, okay, so the movie's Polar or Polar. Again, I want to say Polar because it sounds cooler, but I think it's just Polar. I don't know why. So okay, here's the thing. So Dark Horse, this is another Dark Horse property. I saw this before I saw Umbrella Academy. So this is again, which makes me think there's a pattern here, which makes me think Netflix has a deal with Dark Horse. So Dark Horse had a webcomic called Polar, or something along the lines of Polar, which they might have just simplified for the title. So anyway, so Polar. So basically, I don't know. I have no bearing on what the webcomic was. I assume it's it's the general story of Mad Mikkelsen's character. So basically, this is a movie that stars Mad Mikkelsen, who of course was Caecilius in Doctor Strange, and a really good Hannibal Lecter in the show Hannibal, which was canceled before its true ending, but it was a good show. I'm getting at. About Mads Mikkelsen, he plays an assassin. So the whole movie's about assassins. There's this organization called the Damocles Corporation. The Damocles Corporation, it's comprised of assassins. Pretty much you get a contract, you send a guy out, a team of guys out, they kill the guy, the company gets the cash for the bounty. It's pretty straightforward. And here's the premise of it. So they have this organization of assassins. And when you retire at age 50, you have to retire at age 50. And if you survive, if you live to age 50, you get basically, if you don't get killed in the field, you live to 50, you get a pension, which is it's like a couple $1 million. You get the couple $1 million worth of pension, and you retire somewhere sunny, whatever you want. So that's the gist of it. And here's the kicker. Here's where the movie gets started. Here's the conflict of the movie. No one makes it to 50 because the boss is corrupt and he kills them all in order to regain the money to fund the corporation.
Oh, God.
So, again, there's your premise. You can see the problem here. So, Mads Mikkelsen's turned 50. He's getting ready for retirement. And, again, he's a nice guy. Yeah, he's a very, he's not, he's just doing his job. He's gotten to age 50, and he's basically, contemplating retirement. He's trying to kind of go for the quiet life. And that's it. Let me tell you this. So, the reason I go for the Serenity comparison is that in the movie, the best description I have is the movie is John Wick meets Wanted meets Serenity. Serenity more so in the execution and the dialogue. That's the Serenity of it all.
Okay, so the dialogue, yeah. And the dialogue, of course, as you know, was one of Serenity's specialties.
It's the dialogue, but more so, Tiki, here's the more so. Bear in mind, folks, just in case anyone's just curious. I have not seen Serenity, but I've lived Serenity vicariously through Tiki in a beat by beat manner. Therefore, I have a I have a good understanding of what Serenity is. That
Yes,
said,
yes.
and here's the thing: I feel, even though I haven't physically seen Serenity, I think I can speak to this movie. Feels like how Serenity looks, and based on what you've told me, how Serenity, it's a little, Serenity, obviously little on the nose, to say the least. Little on the nose, a little sexist, little, really off,
My
to say the least.
fish that I'm trying to catch is named Justice.
So pretty much, there's a lot of that in this movie. I mean, I think the Wanted. Here's the thing: Wanted might be the better comparison, but again, it's like Wanted at least had at least had more of a logic to the story than Serenity did. That's the kicker. So I mean, that's why I'm loose on the Wanted comparison, but it feels like it's
And
kind of a mix.
Wanted was self-aware, whereas Serenity just took itself way too seriously.
This thing is kind of self-aware, which makes me pause. That's why it's kind of that's why I say somewhat like Serenity, because it feels like Serenity. I feel most people wouldn't. I've watched this with someone and they interpret it like Serenity, so which makes me think that hence to go with the Serenity thing, where it's a Rorschach test of on a kaleidoscope. That's what this movie is like. What? I really don't know how to interpret this movie, because it's strange. This movie is a strange movie, very Serenity like in that manner. So let me put it this way. So here's what I love about the movie. So I think Mads Mikkelsen's really good in the movie. Not his best performance ever, but I think he plays this Duncan character, and it's the idea of a killer trying to retire, and all the stuff with him I think visually is well directed, because he has this great visual thing where they keep playing the same scene over and over again of him every time like he closes his eyes or like he tries or he's knocked out. He kind of has this visual of a trauma that happens, that it's a mystery that gets solved by the end of the movie, but not soon enough, if you catch my meaning. It's like something playing over and over again until the ending, where okay, now we know what it was getting at. But there are all the best parts of this movie are the Mads Mikkelsen scenes where he's I mean he's really, again, he's in an action movie. He's really good in an action movie, and that's the John Wick quality of this. Again, you have kind of the organization of assassins, but more importantly, the action is really good in this movie. I'll give it that, really good action. But Mads Mikkelsen, he has there's this hilarious scene where Mads Mikkelsen he befriends Vanessa Hudgens, who's kind of his neighbor, and basically he's kind of pulled a Granite State. He's going to retire with his pension and everything. He's going to kind of a snowy section of the world, and he's kind of retiring, and he's kind of meets this neighbor who is Vanessa Hudgens' character. And he befriends her, and she says, "Hey, why don't you teach the kids, because he can speak foreign languages? Why don't you teach the kids some foreign languages?" And also, it's this hilarious scene, like the scene I really love. It's crazy though, so bear in mind it's a crazy scene where he teaches the kids how to wield knives and things, and just like how he would kill them. And there's this really shocking yet gutsy scene with a dog that I do respect. It's kind of the anti-John Wick, to say the least. So, I mean, those are the things I do. Again, all these scenes I do admire what they're going for, the whole can a killer retire question of the movie. And you would think if they stuck with that, the movie would be a lot better. So, again, story-wise, you have that going for it, but everything else is, I don't know where to start. It's keep it simple. It's over the top. It's got weird dialogue. It's got choices that are very, very misogynistic. I'll say that much. I mean, right from the get-go. I mean, this movie starts with a very misogynistic scene with one of your boys in it. I think it's. God, I'm trying to. I'm gonna feel stupid if this is wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Johnny Knoxville. I'm pretty sure Johnny Knoxville's at the start of this movie.
I mean, I like Johnny Knoxville. I wouldn't call him my boy.
Well, yeah, I know you always say. I don't know. I thought you like Johnny Knoxville, but then okay, maybe I'm overstretching. Now, and the point is, Johnny Knoxville.
I do like Johnny Knoxville, but I'm not he's not like someone I'm like super passionate about. I like him.
Yeah, you're right. I'm okay. Scratch that from the record, folks. Sorry about that. Okay, anyway, so the point being, Johnny Knoxville, I'm pretty sure is that they opened this movie in one of these really misogynist openings. But it's been a while since I really had to look at something from use the word misogynist with something. And rarely, again, especially in the culture we're living in now, rarely would you pull the term misogynist. But that's the best way I can phrase it. There's a lot of sexuality in this movie, and it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. Okay, so that's the thing. I kind of like it in a style over substance manner, because I'll warn you, anyone who contemplates checking this out, it's brutal and it's strange, and I have no idea if that's reflective of the source material. I'm gonna guess that it is. Maybe that's why they made these changes, because I didn't know it was a comic book movie while I was watching. I just thought it feels like a comic book adaptation, and by the end, it's like, oh, it is an adaptation. It's a Dark Horse comic book,
Right, right.
I got to talk this up. So Matt Lucas, who you and I saw in Gallivant, he was remember he was the guy when Richard in season 2 of Gallivant, Richard's kingdom was kind of turned into a democracy, and you had kind of the guy tell him about the whole democracy, the bald guy.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
That's him. That's Matt. He's the bad guy in the movie. And basically, this whole movie. The best way I can describe Matt Lucas's performance in this movie is, it's his audition for the Penguin, and it's not bad. I gotta tell you, Matt Lucas is going for like kind of the Cockney. But he's not Cockney. I'm saying like the Arkham games. They use kind of the Cockney Penguin, the kind of the British Penguin.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
That way, I gotta tell you, it's not a bad audition, but it kind of bridges on like half Penguin, half Jabba the Hutt. The guy's kind of disgusting in the movie. That's the thing. He plays a really vile. Imagine the most vile, disgusting version of the Penguin you've seen, and that's the thing. He's kind of a stupid, greedy
Danny
character.
DeVito.
Yeah, he's kind of a modern Danny DeVito take on the Penguin. It's not as fun to revisit. So, I mean, it's, again, fun it's less kind of charming and less with the '90s charm of but let me put it this way: the biggest problem with the movie is that this character he plays, while kind of fun and over the top, is kind of a stupid, greedy character. Because again, the problem is he tries to kill our guy to kind of cheat him out of a deal that he initiated. And the very simple thing is like, just don't try to kill him. Just call the contract off. Again, as you can probably imagine, like spoilers, he kills all the people that he sends after him throughout the movie, like kind of John Wick style. And you'd think, okay, maybe stop, or just call an armistice, extend an olive branch, just call it off, stop it before he just keeps throwing guys at him. Why are you doing this? And there is set up for a sequel, which, I mean, I'll check it out if it's on Netflix. But I mean, I don't think it necessitates a sequel, or I don't know. Basically, in the same way that Bright's getting a sequel, this is getting a sequel. I'll put it to you that way.
Oh man, Bright.
Put it to you that way. Let me see if there's any. Let's see if I missed anything here. Okay, nothing yet. Okay, so okay, what we got next? Okay, let's. You want to start off, or should I start off really? So now, folks, we're out of the current stuff that came out in February.
Dragon, I want you to kind of hype mine up a little bit, because I feel like you do more justice to it than I could, and then after that, I'll give you my thoughts on it. Okay.
All right. So basically, we'll start with yours then.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. So yeah, now we're talking about the stuff that just is kind of new to us. That this is something that I've seen, but Tiki had not until I guess today, right?
Yesterday actually, but yeah,
pretty sure until yesterday. So the point is recently.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So you had that I mentioned this last episode, which is why I kind of recommended it to Tiki, and of course, given the fact that the man passed away recently, and what clinched there is the fact that he was snubbed during the Oscars. It's the Dick Miller documentary. It was made in 2014. It's called That Guy Dick Miller, where Dick Miller had I don't know if it was just by coincidence or what, but Dick Miller had retired from acting in 2014. And that's kind of when this movie came out. So it might have just been like a happy coincidence. They got to make it like a year beforehand. So it basically highlights the astonishing film career that Dick Miller's had. Because Dick Miller's been in over 200 movies. And he's been in a few TV series. He's cameoed in a number of things. And I'm saying he's cameoed in a number of films, but he's also starred or had roles in at least 200 films, at least 190 films. That's a very astonishing career. Dick Miller, for any who aren't aware, Dick Miller, of course, who appeared, basically he's kind of Joe Dante's good luck charm. That's the most prominent thing people are going to know Dick Miller from. He's been in Small Soldiers. He was the truck driver. He's Murray Futterman, the Gremlins movies. Nice guy. And I know him from Batman the Animated Series. He's done some voice work in those, as well as just showing you the wide-spanning career of Dick Miller. He's been a whole bunch of movies, including the best Batman movie ever made with Batman: Mask of the Phantasms. He plays Chucky Saw. They're like, I'll get you, you lousy, stinking.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so what'd you think?
Yeah, Dragon, it was good. It was good. I don't think it hit me as hard as it did you, and I'll tell you why. Because to me, this was very much a by the numbers, like talking heads. Let's take a look at this guy's life and career, and it felt like a "Won't You Be My Neighbor" type documentary, but it didn't have the ambition or drive of something like "Won't You Be My Neighbor." Like it was good, it was informative, and I got that out of it. Like I got to know him on a more personal level, and I got to, kind of learn more about this guy who you've seen in a bunch of things, but you don't really know his name. He's one of the most prominent character actors in that regard. So, I'm glad I saw it. I really am. I wasn't blown away by it though.
In its defense, it was a Kickstarter documentary, as in, it was kind of made on a budget. But again, I don't know.
No, and I'm not saying it's bad at all. I'm saying it's a very good work. I just feel like it's a little bit more kind of like information over substance, if you know what I mean.
All right. Well, what'd you think of the information?
I mean, the information was solid. The information was very solid, and I learned a lot. So, I guess in that way it was successful.
All right.
So, yeah, I don't want to go around, I'm not trashing the movie by any means. I think you had a stronger reaction to it than I did, but I still enjoyed it. I'm still glad I watched it. So, no disrespect at all.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Basically, my 2 cents.
All right. Okay, let's get got a few more from me. So here's one on the flip side. That's why I told you about Dick Miller, and you.
Yeah, I have things to say about this one. So,
well, on the flip side, something you told me about. You hype it up.
Yeah, so Three Identical Strangers. This is a crazy documentary, man. I mean, this is like one of those true stories where you're watching it and you're like, oh my God, like, is this really like, is this actually true? Did this actually happen? Like, it feels too good to be true. Like, it feels like, and Dragon, one of the things I love about this movie is how it plays around with structure, where the first half hour of the movie is almost like a standalone documentary in itself. That's sort of like this feel-good story of how these these long-lost triplets came together, and that's kind of the hook of the movie, this feel-good story. But then the documentary does this brilliant 180 turn and just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's a ride, man. It's a ride. I think Three Identical Strangers, I mean, honestly, I would put Three Identical Strangers and Won't You Be My Neighbor over the 2 documentaries that I watched this month, over Free Solo and Minding the Gap. As much as I liked both those ones, I think that Three Identical Strangers, like, honestly, Three Identical Strangers maybe even more so than Won't You Be My Neighbor, because don't get me wrong, Won't You Be My Neighbor is definitely my favorite movie of the 2 for sure. But I think that Three Identical Strangers just has this hook to it, man. It's got this propulsing drive to it that makes you want to just keep going, and it's a movie that really gets under your skin. It lulls you into a false sense of security in the first half hour, and then it kind of like just bites into you. I love how it does that. It's a very insidious movie like that.
Yeah. This is a truly remarkable story. You have you explore these things of the twin phenomenon. Like the whole you feel like you feel the kind of the connection between the siblings. You kind of the fame of being triplets essentially. Go through. So there's a big tragedy. There's a tragic component to things, definitely. Of course, the big kind of tragic kind of surprises you during the during the latter parts of the movie, because you're kind of talking to a few of the brothers, but they're not all accounted for, and there's a reason for that. And the conspiracy element is what really sells me. I love there's my favorite scene in the whole thing is the flashback reveal to the rainy nights of the parents.
Yeah, that's definitely the highlight of the film for me too.
That's my favorite part of that film. Is like it's a little. It's like rarely can you get recreations are always.
It feels like something out of the Vince Gilligan verse.
Here's the thing: recreations in documentaries or just anything. When you do a recreation, you're always opening yourself up to scrutiny. Where it's like sometimes they're over the top. Sometimes they're kind of distracting you from like the real people you're investing in. That can be a gamble. In this case, they used it very sparingly. When they used it, it had a punch to it. I really appreciate it. Love kind of this, the rainy night, and of course, like just kind of the realization of what has truly happened here. Good stuff. course, there's this really profound question of like what motivated the tragedy within this. What like is it predestined or is it because of the separation of the brothers? And I found this out. I don't know if you know about this. Apparently, there was a fourth brother who died in childbirth. I think.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't know. I did not know about that.
yeah, they didn't mention it in the documentary at all. It's a thing. That's like the only note I really have for it. I found this out. Like, why wouldn't you mention that anywhere in there? There was a fourth one.
Well, because it goes along with the branding, Dragon. They're three identical. They're three identical strangers.
Well, still, it's like a one line or something just to mention it.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, but seriously, yeah, this was good, and I actually echo your sentiments that yeah, it should have been like this. Here's the thing: a better lineup would be this. Okay, kick RBG to the curb, like drop kick it to the curb.
No question. No question.
Drop kick that to the curb. Work in "Won't You Be My Neighbor" in its place because I just want to stick the knife in there even further. It's so much better than you there. And for the rest of it, like, okay, let's just keep Free Solo up there because it paid its dues. It's there, so Free Solo is there. Either Minding the Gap or one of the other ones. We'll kick one of those to the curb, and in its place, we'll put Three Identical Strangers. This was a really good one. No, Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah, I really think that it was an incredibly strong year for documentaries. That I feel like Dragon. There was also a foreign language documentary that was like 3 hours long about like children terrorist camps. And it's like, look, I'm sure that's an important subject matter, but it goes back to what we were saying about escapism. You know what I mean? It's like, I am never going to subject myself to that because that just sounds like a grueling like thing to endure. You know what I mean? Like and I'm sure that's the point of the documentary is to show you something shocking, but I don't know. It's just like that was the one I really couldn't stomach. Like I made no intention of seeking that one out.
And speaking of shocking documentaries, in the comments here, Donovan has pointed. He mentioned the Leaving Neverland documentary, which chances are we're going to be talking about that next episode.
Oh, we'll definitely be talking about that in the March installment of movie Memoirs for sure.
Don't worry about that one, folks. We'll be covering that there. And let's say shocking. That's just one word to describe that.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet, since they did like a 2-part thing, which I wish. Here's the thing: like when the Elvis documentary came out, it was like they had both parts simultaneously. It was like part 1, part 2 on the same night, and they did it in 2 nights. It just bugged me. Like, why do in 2 nights? Why? Darn you ratings! Darn you ratings!
We've got to have money.
Yep, that's why. So we'll definitely be talking about that next go around. But let's see what else. So here's another one that you've seen that I had not. This was on your list last year, I believe, your big the 2018 list. Hotel Transylvania 3.
No, it was not. I did not.
Sure?
Oh, yeah, I did not see Hotel Transylvania 3.
Huh.
I'm trying to think of what you might be thinking of.
All right, well, no, okay. The point being, I'm just going to bring it up then. Hotel Transylvania 3. So, okay, so folks, I watched Hotel Transylvania 3 recently because I've watched that franchise. I've gotten some. It gets harmless laughs, and it's pretty much part of the course. None of them are as good as the first one, but and even then, the first one's not. Let me put it to you this way: the Hotel Transylvania. It's fun to see Gendy Tartakovsky having fun with monsters. To keep it simple, that's the appeal of the franchise. And the first movie had a problem where again there's more of a Sandler influence on it, where it's kind of the Sandlerian charms, where it's the Sandlerian kind of stains on it. We're like, okay, we have to tell an Adam Sandler animated movie before it's what Tartakovsky's doing for the movie. And then the second movie is more Tartakovsky over the Adam Sandler stuff, which is an improvement. And again, it's pretty much continuing on that route, where again, it's just kind of Tartakovsky having fun. In this case, Tartakovsky going on vacation and having fun, which is pretty much it.
And that's kind of funny because it mirrors Adam Sandler's real life career. Like, yeah, let's just go on a cruise and shoot us goofing off, and
which is hilarious and so reflective. That's the funny thing, yeah. And that's it. It's a basic vacation and dating.
Do they make jokes about that?
I'm sure there's some subtle ones about that because basically they're all on vacation, they're having fun. But I mean, they're going from location to location. Basically, they're not saying it, but it feels like it so much. It feels like okay, it's how an Adam Sandler movie would go if they're on vacation. They can make a few stops along the way.
Yeah.
And there's shenanigans. It feels like it.
Uh-huh.
But again, I think it more competently than they. It doesn't feel as forced as it was in the first movie. In the first movie they had those like Sandler jokes where like, yeah, we have to do some Sandler humor. Anyway, the point is they've gotten away from that in the franchise, and this feels like another one. Not the strongest story, but again, kind of it's more Tarkovsky than Sandler. They've got a good bearing on that. So it's two stories that they're going on vacation, and Van Helsing's daughter falls in love with Dracula. That's the premise of the movie. And it's good. Like the girl, Catherine Hahn, the one who played Liv Octavius in Spider-Verse, she plays she plays Van Helsing's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and she's good. The place it's harmless. That's what I'm getting at. The movie's just harmless to say the least. It's not super memorable. It's harmless fun. There are a few good gags. My favorite gag in the whole thing is that they go to Atlantis City. So Atlantis is the big linchpin plot point. They have to go to Atlantis to get something, and basically Van Helsing's trying to get rid of all the monsters, and to do that, she needs something in Atlantis, which is the big end destination of the trip. And basically, Atlantis is played like Atlantic City, which is hilarious.
Right, nice. So,
it's again harmless fun, just kind of Tarkovsky's kind of blowing off some steam. That's about it. Like he's ticked off about no pie. This is what he's doing in the meantime. That's pretty much it. All right.
Okay, and then you randomly threw one last one onto the list last minute. Dragon, why don't you tell us about this?
I completely forgot that here's the thing. It's not a reflection of the movie, but this is the most recent thing that I had watched. I guess if not last week, then the week before. I think it was last week. I watched Death Wish, the 2018 remake with Bruce Willis. And
so how was Bruce, Dragon? How was Bruce? Was Bruce as Bruce Willis-y as ever?
It was good Bruce Willis. It wasn't the just a he can't be bothered Bruce Willis. This one actually we put in an effort, which is always good.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so it's here's the thing. So it's a fine action movie. It's I liked it better than I thought I would. If I'm going to be frank, I bear in mind. Uh-huh. Obviously, it's a remake, and Death Wish is a franchise that is very interesting because it's going on for a number of movies. And I watched this documentary way back when called, unfortunately, it's no longer on Netflix, which is a shame because I would rewatch this one a couple of times because it's a lot of fun. It's called, I think I told you about it. I think you may or may not have watched it. It's called Electric Boogaloo, the History of Canon Films. It's about Canon Films were the ones who made Superman 4, and they made Superman 4. They made the
I know I've seen it. Yeah.
Sorry?
Canon are. You don't have to explain that.
Oh, sure. Well, the point is, the Canon Films, they made Death Wish, which is what I'm getting at. So they made Death Wish, and they covered Death Wish in that documentary. And I haven't watched those movies because I don't know. It's not, Death Wish. You got to remember Charles Bronson in those movies is kind of. Many people made the comparison that the Punisher is a lot like the character in Death Wish. It's a lot like Paul Kersing. I believe it's Kersing. So Paul Kersing is a lot like that character, and it's a fair comparison. Basically, this movie came out, I guess, in a neighborhood of the '80s, might have been the early late '70s. So it's in that era. So Punisher comes out really. Kind of springs on the scene in the 80s. That's where it becomes popular. Therefore, the comparison's made. So it's pretty much Death Wish in a nutshell. And horrible stuff happens to his family, and he gets revenge via vigilantism. And I'm sure the original's better, but this movie, again, as it were, it's pretty straightforward. It's got good actors in it. You have Bruce Willis. You have D'Onofrio. D'Onofrio's in it, man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
how big of a role does?
It's bigger than Jurassic. It's bigger than Jurassic World. I'll tell you that much. He gets to deliver a performance. He's it's not a huge role, but he plays
bigger than Jurassic World. It just has to be better than Jurassic World.
It is better than Jurassic World. I think he would be happy with it. It's he plays the brother to Kersing. He plays the brother who's kind of dealing with what the premise of Death Wish is the wife gets killed and the daughter She gets violated and hospitalized. In this case, obviously in the PC era we're living in now, she's not violated. She's they allude to it though, but she's put in the hospital, and of course, full cursing here. He's very ticked off and he wants to get justice by his own hand. And Dean Norris is in it. Dean Norris plays the cop on the case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's
Dragon. I might have to check that out.
yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. It's rated R, so it still is violent. It's violent, and there are really good kills in the movie. And it captures what Death Wish is in its essence. It's a tale about vigilantism. You have some cool kills. There are some simple yet clever payoffs. They're like little clever moments, but it's like you can guess where it's going, but it's cool. It's cool enough. That's what the movie on the whole is. It's cool enough. But here's the thing: it's really going to sell you on it. TK. I should have led with this. Eli Roth directed this, and I think he did it justice.
Yeah, you should have led with that. Yeah, that's very interesting to know.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think Eli Roth. I don't know everything about Eli Roth, but I get the gist of. He's kind of a. I don't know what the best way to phrase it is, but Eli Roth's a guy who cares about.
He's film a cult filmmaker, man.
That's the word I was looking for. Cult filmmaker. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. The guy's a cult filmmaker, and since this is a guy who loved the original Death Wish and he wanted to do it justice, that's kind of the sense you get from it. Now,
right. Okay, now I definitely have to check it out.
The other thing, I think he distills what those movies were about. And bear in mind, Death Wish, as I mentioned with the canon thing, every sequel, Charles Bronson got less and less invested in the role because he just didn't want to do them anymore. Because he was basically old man with a gun. That's pretty much what the movies turned into. And that's the thing. Like the first movie was from what I understand, the first movie was great, and the second movie was also good. And then pretty much everything after that was just like 3 was insane because the idea was like war broke out in a suburban neighborhood, and then everything afterwards was like we're beating a dead horse at this point because we keep doing something shockingly offensive to a person that's close to Paul cursing. And then he's back. He's out of retirement. It's pretty much what happens every movie. But this it's kind of like again, it's probably a love letter. Not everybody's going to love. Like if you know the original, you're probably not going to like it. But it was made from a pure place, and I think to an average Joe, I think it's a good introduction to what Death Wish is. So I enjoyed it.
All right, that's a solid one to end out on. I got to say, Dragon, good pool. Right. Good pool. Okay, so. Here, folks, we're going to go through the some of the stuff we're looking forward to in March. As we already said, we're definitely going to be covering that Neverland documentary, the Michael Jackson one.
Yep. I'm sorry, real quick. Before we go any further, I just want to read something from Don Martin here. They're making a 4th Hotel Transylvania, and his comment about Van Helsing. I think the moment's kind of passed on that though, but. Us is coming out in March. He brings up with Jordan Peele. You going to see that?
Yes, we'll get to that.
Keep going with your reviews.
Okay, so obviously the first thing that you and I are going to see in theaters is going to be Captain Marvel. We both have tickets to see that on Thursday. Dragon, I'm going in cautiously excited. I just, I don't want to bring politics into it, but let's just say I'm not thrilled about the way that the overly being like, I just want a good movie. I just want a good movie at the end of the day. That's all I want. And so it's like, we'll see what happens with Captain Marvel.
Let me put it to you this way. I'm kind of going the Charlie Brown mode on Captain Marvel. Here's what I'm doing. I keep thinking back to, with a lot of movies, I kind of think back to this mindset, especially I'm just kind of going into a movie blind. I always pull kind of the Charlie Brown moment from the Charlie Brown Christmas. Where Charlie Brown saying, "I'm not going to let this commercial dog ruin my enjoyment of the holidays." Where I keep going back, I'm not going to let all this negative stuff and all these dispersions being cast on the movie ruin, cloud my mindset for the movie. I kind of go in that mode, But you know what? All this stuff, I know she's like shooting herself and shooting everybody in the foot with the marketing. And believe me, folks, I've seen it by a lot of people who. I've been in so many debates about Captain Marvel. I'm not saying I haven't gotten into any heated arguments or everything, but I've seen people, they're casting doom on Captain Marvel. I just feel, you know what, guys, we don't know anything. We don't know until we see the movie. Yes, she's putting her foot in her mouth with all the marketing, but we can't factor that into the movie. So that's what I'm going into. I'm going to give the movie the benefit of the doubt. I was so sold on the premise of this movie, and it's the most bizarre thing with this movie. I can mention it here because where else am I going to be able to say it? Never have I had an experience with a Marvel movie where they've tried so hard in the marketing to talk me out of seeing it. Never have I had that experience.
Right, right. Yeah,
Movies,
I feel the same way.
Brie Larson saying, "Don't see the movie, don't see it." It's like, come on, I'm selling the movie to the movie. It's like, but it's set in the night, set in 1995. You got Nick Fury, Coulson, Ronan the Accuser, and I'm in
Yeah,
Captain
yeah.
Marvel.
Those are all things I am excited about. I'm not gonna lie to you.
The big secret weapon for Infinity War, presumably,
Right.
and Ant-Man. I want to see that. I want to see what happens. Like, no, there's going to be scrolls, freaking scrolls. How can you talk me down from freaking scrolls? So it's it's a bizarre experience when I'm going in unfederally. I'm going in with that initial that sell of it all to you, that whole '90s Marvel. And of course, if we know anything from the Marvel movies, every time we flash back to the '90s, something big or profound happens. We have the opening of Black Panther. We have the big reveal in Civil War. All the big stuff happens in the '90s in Marvel.
Mm.
Again, I'm sold on it.
Okay, so flashing forward, March 15th, Wonder Park.
I'm not seeing it.
I might. It depends on the reviews. I do like the premise of it, the whole idea of the crazy cartoony theme park. I do like my cartoony theme parks. Hold on, Dragon. I'm looking it up right now. I'm curious what animation company did this.
Nickelodeon. Well, I mean, there's
Oh yeah, you're right. It is Nickelodeon. Huh. Um, I don't know. I might check it out. Like I said, it does depend on if the reviews are good or not. We'll see. We'll see. Dragon, 5 Feet Apart. The only reason I even mention it is it's basically the Emma Ducote movie.
You mean is it actually starring? Is it actually starring Olivia Coker? You're just saying it's like him?
No, it's starring Haley
Oh,
Lou
right. No, I'm
Richardson.
sorry. I got it. I forgot the title. Yes, I know what you're talking about. The thing with Dylan, with Dylan Sprouse, right? Or Dylan, wait,
Cole Spout.
Darn it.
Cole Sprouse.
Yes, Cole Sprouse.
That's Jughead, right?
Yeah, Jughead. Yeah.
Yeah, I recognized him. I was like, "Hey, look, it's Jughead, and he's sick and he's dying of cancer. Isn't that fun?"
And he's great on that show, by the way. Bear in mind that show's
I can
going
imagine.
that show's going to crazy town with season 3 by the end. He is really good on that show.
So, do you have any intention of actually seeing this thing? I mean, for me, it just looks a little too depressing. Like, I don't know if, again, with the escapism, like, this just isn't my type of, like, all right, gonna go see a cancer love story.
I'm yeah, I'll wait. I'm gonna wait for that one. I will check it out, but I'm not gonna see it in theaters.
I'm kind of the same way. I think we're some pot to go on that.
There is one that I don't know how this is gonna fall because I think this was the start of. Wait, no, I guess it wasn't the start of March. I'm not sure how this one's gonna go. It might go into just the kind of the. I'm not sure how we're gonna broach this one. I'm gonna try to seek out Paddleton on Netflix. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that's gonna fit in. How we're gonna work that in the March. I mean, worst case scenario is working into the whole
What is
stuff.
it?
Paddleton with Ray Romano.
Oh, right, yeah.
Not sure how that one's going to go because I think it's technically came out in February, but again, we're just working into, I guess, kind of the stuff we've just seen outside of the month, I guess, so it'll be fine.
All right, so Dragon, March 22nd. I know you're not going to see it, but you know that I am just absolutely like, folks, I am over the moon stoked. I can't wait to see Us. Oh my god. Oh, it looks so good, Dragon. It looks so creepy. It looks so puzzling. It's oh my god. Us looks like an utter masterpiece, and I'm hyping it. I'm hyping it up in my head way too much. It'll probably end up disappointing me, but man, if it doesn't disappoint me, if it like reaches like half of the expectation that I actually have for this movie, then we're looking at a modern horror masterpiece right now, Dragon, because that's what the trailers are selling me. I mean, I'm talking, these are some of the best trailers for a horror movie I have ever seen, Dragon. The marketing for Us is that good.
I gotta be honest.
Oh my god.
I gotta be honest. It's got a good trailer. Don't get me wrong. And again, obviously, not really my kind of movie, but I'm not casting aspersions on that. But I gotta tell you, I'm not really seeing masterpiece from the trailer. I mean, I think it's just me though.
Here's my thing. I feel like Us is going to be just as socially relevant as Get Out, but I don't think it's going to have the tongue-in-cheek quality of Get Out. I think it's going to be a lot creepier and a lot darker than Get Out. And because of that, I mean, that, like, honestly, just the fact that Get Out was almost like a horror comedy, that's the one thing, like, Get Out didn't really scare me, Dragon. It was a good movie. It was a thought-provoking movie. It didn't really scare me. This, just based on the trailers, it effing scares me.
Let me. I'll tell you one thing though. Again, this is the thing that almost entices me to see the movie, not in theaters, but I mean eventually. This one again, unless I hear, I really don't think I'm going to be seeing this one. I mean, Get Out, I could watch this one. It might be a little too scary for me, is what I'm getting at. But Lupita Nyong'o, she's the one that really sells me in that trailer, man. I love her in that trailer.
Yes. Also, I love the fact that the whole movie was shot in Santa Cruz, and the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk looks like a major fixture of the plot. Like, I love that because I grew up with the Santa Cruz Boardwalk. So I'm not going to lie, Dragon, that does kind of shape some of my personal bias for how excited I am for this movie.
And you're not the only one who's excited, Donovan Martin. He couldn't agree more. He's very much looking forward to Us, and he mentions the whole concept of us being of our basically us being our worst enemies is a thing we can all sing to. Which I gotta admit, again, it's a great premise and a great justification.
Yeah, Donovan, I'm absolutely like jumping up and down out of my seat like whenever I think about Us. Like I said, I'm in the danger zone of hyping it up way too much for myself. Because my expectations for Us are basically sky high. But man, if it lives up to those expectations. All right. Let's see. There's not really a lot in March, Dragon, I'm noticing.
There's one other big one we haven't gotten to yet.
Of course, there's Dumbo. That's the other big one.
I'm going to try to see that, but I can't make it. Here's the thing. I think I'm eventually going to see it, and I'm going to try to see it in theaters, but I don't know if it's going to make it to the next episode for me or not, but I'm going to try to see that regardless. I mean, honestly, out of all the Disney movies coming out, all the live-action retellings of the Disney movies, I think I'm most sold on Dumbo. It's just the rest of them I'm really not sure about.
I mean, I think I'm honestly like most sold on The Lion King. I'm not saying The Lion King's going to be good. I'm just saying like Jon Favreau has more proving groundwork than well, I mean, I'm not saying Tim Burton's a bad director, but I'm saying Tim Burton's a bad director.
Okay.
I as in like Tim Burton, like he's made some masterpieces, but he hasn't made anything worthwhile in a long time. Arguably since Big Fish way back in 2003.
Big Fish was really good.
I love Big Fish.
I will say this: the Big Eyes wasn't bad though. Big Eyes was okay.
It wasn't bad, but it was okay. That's the word I would describe Big Eyes.
It really doesn't feel like a Tim. Aside from the literal Big Eyes, which again, he has like a fondness for that art style. Take that out of the equation. It doesn't really feel like a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah. But other than Dumbo, Dragon, which I certainly will see because I'm just like a glutton for punishment when it comes to Disney. I'll just see anything that they shove in front of my face, no matter what. I saw the Pete's Dragon remake like the first day that was in theaters, for God's sakes. But what can I say, Dragon? I'm a loyalist to my company. But I will have a take on Dumbo the next time we speak. Anything you're planning on seeing, like in terms of playing catch up this next month, Dragon? Just out of curiosity.
Well, real quick, Donovan mentions, I'm not sure quite what this, I assume this is in reference to Dumbo, unless he's talking about The Lion King here. He says, I'm going to see it day one, hopefully in IMAX. Read an article in the recent D23 magazine. Now I'm sold. So again, he could be talking about Lion King, but it might be Dumbo. So unless you can clarify that, Donovan, I'm going to assume you're talking about Lion King. But I don't know. All right, so you're asking, I'm sorry, so you're asking, is there anything I intend on catching up on, like stuff I intend on?
Yeah, like anything that that's been on the docket, and you're definitely going to get to this next month.
So he was referring to Dumbo, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, so And Luis is curious about Dumbo as well, by the way, Luis, in the comments. Okay, so here's the thing. So I'm again, Paddleton's the one that comes to me at the moment because again, that one's just one I've been meaning to get to. But I'm trying to think broadly off the top of my head if there's anything because I'll probably just kind of happen upon some stuff. I'm trying. Again, I'm trying to remember as I was looking into because I know there's a lot of series coming out in March. I'm going to be knee deep in.
Yeah, that's true.
The Santa Clarita Diet, season 3, and of course the Tick season 2, and Barry. So I'm knee deep in a lot of series. I'm blanking on it right now, but it's. I know there's some stuff coming. There's some stuff that's going to be coming on HBO, and I guess in the coming Saturdays I'll be privy to. I'm just kind of basically some movies that have come out that I'm sorry, I'm just blanking on it.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I kind of threw that out of the blue. Dragon, at this point, I'm looking to see everything that was released theatrically this year. I really am. So it's like, for example, A Dog's Way Home. There's no real reason why Tiki should see A Dog's Way Home.
You're right. There is no real reason.
But you know what? It was theatrically released this year. And god damn it, I'm keeping an eye out. As soon as it's on Amazon, I'm fucking spending that $3 for the SD rental, Dragon. You better believe it.
Oh, God.
All right. Anyway.
Well, before we get out of here, we got to talk about we have to pick our favorite for.
Oh yeah, our favorite and least favorite. Right. Okay, this is pretty easy for me. Favorite, Fighting with My Family. Least favorite, frickin' What Men Want. Like, that's pretty cut and dry, right?
Yeah, okay, well, sure. I mean, again, maybe in parentheses, again, How to Train Your Dragon's kind of de facto the favorite, but I mean, I don't know, because that's the thing. Basically, it's between How to Train Your Dragons and Alita being the favorite, because, again, I
would say that How to Train Your Dragon would be, like, our overall favorite of the month, but then, like, Alita would be your personal favorite, and then Fighting with My Family would be my personal favorite.
I had both. I had really great experiences with both of these, but again, a fundamentally different experience. I was kind of blown away by Alita.
Right.
I was as satisfied as I could possibly be with How to Train Your Dragon. I mean that in a good way. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was a great experience for an invested. It was kind of basically in kind of the blockbuster way almost. It was like one was kind of a fresh blockbuster. The other one was like I wanted to see kind of the big conclusion. So they're both. Those are two of the big highlights. How to Train Your Dragons in parentheses, Alita, and kind of a new one, I guess. Least favorites, God, it's out of all of them, I guess. So just for the whole shebang, right? Should I include just like even basically all the stuff in February, I guess.
Just out of everything you watched, what was your least favorite?
That's a tough one because I got 3. You know me, as I mentioned in my thesis here, all my non-theatrical stuff was terrible. It was subpar to terrible because again, though Buzzsaw was passable, just a little slow at the start. So that's not the worst. Everything else was just really not good to forgettable. So I mean, it's a question of. I mean, Roma had really good cinematography, so I guess not Roma.
I wouldn't call Roma the worst. I really wouldn't.
No, it's not Roma. So that means it's between Kim Possible and Polar.
Oh, it's got to be Kim Possible. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. You're just saying
Kim Possible. You went on a whole rant about Kim Possible.
You're right. I mean, I gotta be honest. I mean, Polar, I might go back to just for the sheer action of it all. I mean, Kim Possible and the on there, so that one actually hurt me in place, and I do love Kim. But you're right, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, Kim Possible is the least favorite. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for this over 3-hour podcast. But you know what? That's okay. We've, with these are kind of the end of the month podcast that Dragon and I can just kind of cut loose, not worry about the runtime. And I kind of like this format, Dragon. I like it. It's not how I would want to do every podcast, but I think it works for this particular, this particular style. I think the more cut and loose, like not worrying about the runtime so much. I think it suits this particular series. So thanks so much to Donovan, Louise, anyone else in the comments, Dragon?
No, just Donovan, Louise. But before we go, Donovan Martin says his favorite was How to Train Your Dragon 3, which again collectively I think we all like like that.
Yeah,
Most, if we have a gun to our head, we're going to say How to Train Your Dragon, no problem. But
and big shout out to Donovan, who's been hanging out with us for almost 4 hours at this point.
sure, and let's see. The least favorite for him, I think, basically, I think he's seen the main three. I want to say he's seen the main three as well as I have. I think he says the least, he says least but okay was Lego movies. That was, I guess, assuming he's seen these three. That's kind of his least favorite. Each perfectly fine.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm really loving the community. We're slowly but surely growing here on the channel. I'm loving that basically every stream we do now has live people commenting, guys. It means so much. You don't even know. That's a goal I've had for a long time, and I think we've finally achieved it, and it's awesome. And yeah, just stay tuned for more, and that'll do it until we turn the page on another installment of Movie Memoirs. This song's gonna get stuck inside you. This
song's gonna get stuck inside you. This song's gonna get stuck inside your head. This song's gonna get stuck inside your head.
Da, 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 da.